We are currently facing an invisible, escalating outbreak that is sweeping through the produce aisles of American grocery stores. The culprit is a highly resilient intestinal parasite known as Cyclospora. What makes this parasite incredibly terrifying is its biological armor. Cyclospora produces microscopic oocysts with incredibly tough outer shells that latch onto the sticky biofilm of leafy greens. You cannot simply rinse these parasites away under your kitchen sink. Running tap water over your store-bought vegetables does absolutely nothing to break that bond. If you look at the current outbreak zones, the reality is deeply alarming. The Food and Drug Administration has been issuing red alerts throughout the summer. Major supermarket chains across Texas, Illinois, New York, and Florida are being forced to constantly pull imported leafy greens and fresh herbs off their shelves due to massive clusters of group infections. The root cause of this national crisis traces directly back to industrial agricultural practices. Open-air irrigation systems draw from contaminated water sources, and massive farming operations often utilize improperly composted animal manure. When that contaminated water and fertilizer hit the crops, the parasite spreads like wildfire across hundreds of acres. There is only one ultimate survival mechanism to protect your family, and that is growing your own food in containers and combining it with high heat cooking. By taking total control of your sterilized soil, your municipal tap water, and your kitchen stove, you completely sever the life cycle of Cyclospora. Today, we are counting down the top 15 most vulnerable vegetables and herbs that are constantly being recalled, and I'm giving you the exact blueprint to grow them safely in containers and prepare them with absolute peace of mind. Before we begin, I must provide a clear medical disclaimer. The information shared in this masterclass is strictly for educational purposes regarding agricultural practices and home food safety. It is absolutely not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you or a family member are experiencing symptoms of food poisoning or parasitic infection, please contact a healthcare provider or visit an emergency room immediately. Let us begin with number 15. Coming in at number 15 is parsley. Parsley is a staple in almost every American kitchen, but it is currently hiding a massive secret in the produce aisle. Every time you walk through your local grocery store, you likely see those automated misters spraying a fine layer of water over the fresh herbs. While that keeps the parsley looking vibrant and crisp on the shelf, it creates the absolute perfect, continuously damp environment for Cyclospora oocysts to survive indefinitely and remain highly infectious. The tightly curled leaves of curly parsley, or even the broad flat leaves of Italian parsley, act like microscopic catch basins for any contaminated water originating from the industrial supply chain. To eliminate this massive vulnerability, you must take control of the growing environment by planting your parsley in containers. Parsley features a surprisingly aggressive taproot that needs plenty of vertical space to develop properly. You will want to select a heavy, unglazed terracotta pot that is at least 10 inches deep. The porous nature of terracotta allows the soil to breathe, which is critical for preventing root rot. When you are ready to plant, gently press your seeds about 1/4 of an inch into a rich, loose potting mix and lightly cover them with a fine dusting of soil. Before you do this, here is a professional secret. Parsley seeds have an incredibly tough outer shell and are notoriously slow to germinate. You can double their germination speed by soaking the seeds in a bowl of warm water for a full 24 hours before planting. Your absolute best defense against Cyclospora when growing parsley is mastering the art of the dry canopy. You must establish a strictly dry environment for the foliage. When you water your parsley, you must aim the spout of your watering can directly at the soil line, pressing it right up against the base of the plant. You must never use an overhead sprinkler or a spray nozzle that wets the leaves. By keeping the foliage bone dry at all times, you ensure that even if a stray microscopic spore blows into your garden, it will completely lack the moisture it needs to survive. Finally, we have to talk about harvesting and consumption. In a time of widespread outbreaks, you must completely abandon the habit of using fresh, raw parsley as a beautiful green garnish sprinkled over your pasta or salads. Instead, harvest the mature outer leaves of your container plant, chop them finely, and immediately drop them into a pot of rolling, boiling bone broth or a simmering tomato sauce. The intense, sustained heat of your stove is the ultimate sterilizer, guaranteeing that your family can enjoy that bright, earthy parsley flavor with absolute zero-risk peace of mind. Moving to number 14, we have dill. The biological structure of dill makes it a walking hazard in a commercial farming environment. Dill features massive, sprawling, feathery leaves that are incredibly beautiful but completely impractical for food safety. Those millions of tiny, hair-like structures act as a giant net. Whenever heavy rain hits an industrial farm, the water smashes into the muddy soil and aggressively splashes dirt and contaminated runoff directly up into the lower canopy of the dill plants. The parasite gets trapped deep within the feathery leaves, completely invisible to the naked eye and impossible to wash out. To grow dill safely at home, you must respect its highly sensitive root system. Dill absolutely despises being transplanted, so you must skip the seedling starter trays entirely. You need to sow your seeds directly into their permanent home, which should be a container at least 12 inches deep to accommodate its long taproot. Evenly scatter your seeds across the surface of the moist potting soil, and then cover them with a paper-thin layer of peat moss so they can easily push through when they sprout. Your primary defense strategy for container-grown dill involves vertical elevation. You must completely eliminate the risk of soil splashing. Do not place your container on the ground or directly on your patio floor. You must elevate the pot on a sturdy metal wire rack or a wooden shelf at least 2 feet above the ground. By elevating the growing space, you create a massive physical barrier that completely neutralizes the threat of dirty water bouncing off the hard ground and contaminating your fresh herbs. When it comes time to harvest, use a clean pair of scissors to carefully snip the soft, fragrant fronds. Because dill captures so much surface area, you cannot risk eating it raw in a potato salad during a Cyclospora outbreak. The safest and most delicious way to consume your homegrown dill is through high-heat baking. Take those fresh snips of dill, press them heavily into a thick, beautiful fillet of wild-caught salmon, and bake it in your oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit. The intense ambient heat of the oven will completely eradicate any biological threats, leaving you with a perfectly safe, incredibly flavorful, restaurant-quality meal. At number 13 is chives. The danger with commercial chives does not necessarily come from the soil, but from the industrial harvesting process. On massive commercial farms, chives are violently sheared down to the dirt by heavy agricultural machinery. They are then tightly bound together in thick rubber bands and shipped across the country. That tight, suffocating bundle creates a dark, humid, oxygen-starved core where the bruised, weeping stems begin to rot. If just one blade of grass in that entire bundle was contaminated with Cyclospora, the wet, rotting core becomes a super spreader event, cross-contaminating the entire package before it ever reaches your supermarket. Growing your own chives is the easiest way to break this cycle. They are incredibly resilient survivors. The fastest way to establish a chive container is to visit a reputable local nursery and buy a healthy root division. You will want to use a shallow 8-inch pot filled with a completely sterile, soil-free medium like pure coconut coir mixed with a slow-release organic granular fertilizer. Bury the white root bulb entirely in this nutrient-rich medium, leaving only the green shoots exposed. To maintain a sterile environment, you must strictly manage the hygiene of your harvesting tools. Chives are a cut-and-come-again crop, meaning you will be slicing them down repeatedly throughout the summer. Before you ever make a cut, you absolutely must sterilize your gardening shears or kitchen scissors by wiping the blades down with 70% isopropyl rubbing alcohol. By sterilizing your tools, you ensure that you are never introducing foreign bacteria or lingering parasites into the open, weeping wounds of the freshly cut chive stems. For your harvest, Grab a thick handful of the green blades and slice them cleanly about 2 inches above the soil line. They will continuously push new growth for you all season long. To consume them with zero anxiety, you must apply the cooking rule. Do not use them as a raw garnish on top of baked potatoes. Instead, aggressively stir-fry those freshly chopped chives with scrambled eggs over a blazing hot skillet, or fold them generously into a batch of pork dumplings and steam them until they are piping hot and completely sterile. Number 12 brings us to the king of the superfoods, kale. Commercial kale is an absolute nightmare when it comes to foodborne illness. The deep, tight curls and heavily textured pockets of curly kale leaves are perfectly designed by nature to trap and hold moisture. On a massive commercial farm, these fields are often drenched using open-air irrigation systems that draw from compromised agricultural reservoirs. When that water, often tainted by human agricultural runoff, blasts the crops, those curly pockets act as inescapable microscopic catch basins. The parasites sink deep into the tight folds of the center rosette, waiting silently. Kale is a massive, incredibly hungry plant that demands serious container space. You must plant a single kale seedling directly into the center of a large 5-gallon container. When you plant it, dig a deep hole and bury the stem all the way down to the first set of starter leaves. This deep planting technique forces the stem to push out an aggressive network of secondary roots, anchoring the heavy plant firmly into the soil so it does not topple over in the wind. Your defense strategy for kale requires building an impenetrable physical fortress. The moment your young kale plant reaches 4 inches tall, you must envelop the entire container in a heavy-duty fine mesh insect netting. Secure this netting tightly around the rim of the pot. This netting does double duty. It completely blocks destructive white cabbage moths from laying eggs, and more importantly, it acts as a critical physical barrier that deflects wind-blown agricultural dust and contaminated debris from ever settling into your pristine, curled leaves. When you harvest, always pull the largest, oldest leaves from the very bottom of the stalk, allowing the top canopy to continue generating energy. Because kale leaves are incredibly thick, leathery, and rugged, they can easily survive the high temperatures required to kill Cyclospora. The absolute safest and most popular way to prepare your harvest is to toss the torn leaves with olive oil and sea salt, spread them on a baking sheet, and roast them in the oven until they turn into crispy, shattering kale chips. The dry, blistering heat of the oven acts as an impenetrable shield for your digestive system. Coming in at number 11 is celery. Celery almost always finds itself on the infamous Dirty Dozen list, and for good reason. Celery stalks grow tightly clustered together right at the soil level. In massive farming operations, the heavy farm equipment creates deep, muddy trenches, and agricultural runoff frequently floods the base of the celery crops. The tightly packed stalks trap thick layers of contaminated mud, chemical fertilizers, and parasites deep within the base of the plant, making it nearly impossible to scrub clean in your kitchen sink. You can actually start your container celery using a scrap from the supermarket to ensure a clean slate. Take a bunch of organic celery, slice off the bottom 2 inches of the base, and plant that stump halfway deep into a container. Because celery is composed almost entirely of water, it is an incredibly thirsty plant that will die quickly if the soil dries out. You must use a self-watering container system that features a deep water reservoir at the bottom, allowing the potting mix to constantly wick moisture upward. Your defense strategy relies on strict water management. Because the plant is pulling massive volumes of water directly into its cellular structure, you must only fill that bottom reservoir with highly purified water. Use municipal tap water that has been run through a high-quality carbon filter to remove impurities, ensuring that the water your plant drinks is completely free of agricultural runoff and waterborne parasites. By feeding it purified water from the bottom, the tight crevices between the stalks remain completely dry and pristine. To harvest, use a sharp knife to carefully separate the outer stalks, leaving the tiny pale green core completely intact so it can continue to push new growth. While drinking raw celery juice is a massive health trend, doing so during a parasite outbreak is incredibly risky. To guarantee your safety, you must subject the celery to high, sustained heat. Dice those crunchy stalks into small cubes and use them as the aromatic flavor base for a rich, slow-cooked beef stew. Hours of simmering in a hot broth will obliterate any trace of foodborne pathogens. Number 10 is watercress. This peppery green is unique because it is an aquatic or semi-aquatic plant. In commercial agriculture, watercress is heavily cultivated in shallow, slow-moving streams or stagnant agricultural ponds. These stagnant open water sources are the absolute worst offenders for harboring and concentrating intestinal parasites, as they catch agricultural runoff from miles around. Cyclospora thrives in this exact environment, making commercial watercress a highly dangerous gamble. Growing watercress at home requires mimicking a wetland environment without the dangerous stagnant water. Choose a wide, shallow plastic container. Generously scatter the tiny seeds directly onto the surface of a very wet, almost muddy potting mix. You must never bury these seeds under the soil, because watercress seeds absolutely require direct sunlight to trigger their germination process. To create your Cyclospora defense system, you have to actively manage the aquatic environment. Place your shallow planted container directly inside a larger waterproof tray filled with 2 inches of purified water. However, you cannot let that water sit and stagnate. Exactly every 3 days, you must lift the pot out, dump the old water down the drain, and vigorously scrub the plastic tray with a bristle brush to destroy any slimy biofilm that is formed. Refill the tray with crystal clear, purified water. This aggressive sanitation routine completely flushes out the system, destroying the viability of any aquatic parasites trying to persist. Watercress is very delicate and will bolt and die under the brutal midday sun, so keep it in a location that receives cool afternoon shade. When you are ready to harvest, use scissors to snip the tender green tops. Because of its aquatic nature, eating watercress raw in a salad is entirely out of the question right now. The only safe way to consume it is to drop large handfuls of the freshly cut greens into a rolling, boiling pot of minced pork soup just minutes before serving. The boiling water will flash cook the delicate leaves, rendering them completely sterile and perfectly safe to eat. At number 9, we have alfalfa sprouts. Commercial sprouts are widely recognized by food safety experts as the single highest risk item in the entire produce department. The commercial incubation chambers used to grow sprouts are essentially massive, humid, warm saunas. While this environment causes deadly bacteria like Salmonella to multiply into the millions, it does something equally terrifying for Cyclospora. It acts as the ultimate biological preservation chamber. The warm humidity ensures that any dormant Cyclospora oocyst clinging to a single seed remains completely viable, essentially turning your fresh sprouts into a fully armed delivery system. You do not need a pot or potting soil to grow alfalfa sprouts safely at home. You only need a sterilized glass mason jar and a specialized mesh sprouting lid. Add 2 tablespoons of seeds to the empty jar, secure the mesh lid, and place the jar upside down at a sharp 45-degree angle on a drying rack next to your kitchen sink. This angled position ensures that all excess water drains out completely, preventing the seeds from rotting in a puddle. Your defense strategy against these indestructible spores relies on accepting a brutal truth. Chemical rinses and organic apple cider vinegar soaks do absolutely nothing to penetrate the parasite's biological armor. You must rely strictly on mechanical hygiene and thermal shock. Once your seeds are safely in the jar, vigorously rinse them with highly purified water exactly 2 times a day, every single day, to flush out surface debris. Within about 5 days, the jar will be packed with vibrant pale green sprouts. Do not grab a handful and stuff them raw into a turkey sandwich. To execute the final sanitization, grab a massive pair of metal tongs. Plunge the fresh alfalfa sprouts directly to the absolute bottom of a boiling hot pot of Asian broth right at the dinner table. The violent rolling boil acts as the ultimate thermal kill switch, instantly shattering the parasite's armor, ensuring you get that perfect crunch without the hospital visit. Number 8 is cabbage. The massive, heavy heads of commercial cabbage sit directly on the ground for months at a time. This extremely low ground clearance makes them a prime target for contaminated agricultural runoff. During heavy rains, industrial farm fields frequently flood with water tainted by compromised rural sanitation systems. The bottom leaves of the cabbage violently grind against this pathogen-soaked mud every single day, absorbing the microscopic threats directly into the overlapping layers of the vegetable. To grow cabbage safely in a container, you must seek out miniature cabbage varieties that mature quickly. Fill a wide-mouthed 5-gallon plastic container with a highly porous potting soil that drains exceptionally well, as cabbage roots will suffocate and rot in heavy mud. Dig a small hole right in the center, drop your seedling in, and firmly press the soil down around the base of the stem to ensure the roots have maximum contact with the dirt. Your defense strategy requires pulling the plant completely out of the biological strike zone. By elevating your cabbage in a tall container, you sever its contact with the ground entirely. Furthermore, you must completely abandon the chaotic variables of outdoor dirt and unverified organic matter. Feed your container cabbage exclusively with a sterile, synthetic, water-soluble NPK fertilizer. By mixing this clean, mineral-based fertilizer with your purified tap water, you are fueling massive, explosive growth while guaranteeing a completely sterile baseline for your food. Harvest your cabbage only when the head feels incredibly dense and rock hard to the touch. Take a sharp knife and cut the head completely free from the base. Even with these precautions, you must strip away and discard the 2 outermost wrapper leaves. Slice the remaining crisp, clean cabbage into incredibly thin ribbons. Throw those ribbons into a smoking hot carbon steel wok with a splash of oil. The aggressive, blistering heat of a high-temperature stir-fry will instantly shatter the parasite's biological armor and neutralize any potential threats, leaving you with a sweet, charred, and perfectly sterile side dish. Let us pause for a reality check. We have reached the halfway point of our masterclass, but the most dangerous, highly absorbent, and heavily recalled greens are still waiting at the top of the list. Think about how resilient this parasite really is. The thick protective shell of Cyclospora allows it to survive for months inside the cold, dark environment of your kitchen refrigerator. I want to hear from you right now. Have you ever been forced to completely empty your crisper drawer and throw away bags of expensive groceries just because you heard a terrifying FDA recall alert on the evening news? Let me know your experiences in the comments below, and let us continue to build your unbreachable defense system. Number 7 is arugula. This spicy, peppery green is notoriously fragile. At commercial packing facilities, arugula harvested from hundreds of different farms is dumped into massive industrial washing vats. This centralized washing process is a catastrophic vulnerability. If just one single handful of arugula leaves from one specific farm is contaminated with Cyclospora, it immediately contaminates the water in the vat, cross-contaminating thousands of plastic clamshells that are shipped to supermarkets nationwide. Arugula features a very shallow, fast-growing root system, making it the perfect candidate for container gardening. Fill a wide, shallow plastic tray that is about 6 inches deep with loose potting soil. You want to scatter the tiny seeds very evenly across the entire surface of the soil. Once scattered, gently cover them with an extremely thin 1/8 inch layer of cocoa coir dust. This ultra-light layer protects the seeds from hungry birds while allowing the fragile sprouts to break through easily. Your defense strategy against the washing vat contamination is creating a closed-loop pot-to-plate system. You must harvest the arugula using completely sterilized tools. Wash your hands with antibacterial soap for 20 full seconds. Take a razor-sharp, sterilized kitchen knife and cut a clean swath of leaves right above the soil line. Do not use your bare hands to violently rip or pinch the leaves, as tearing the foliage creates jagged, open wounds that invite bacteria. Arugula is a cool weather crop, meaning you must harvest the entire tray before the brutal summer heat wave arrives. Once harvested, resist the urge to toss those fresh leaves with a lemon vinaigrette for a raw salad. Instead, wait until your homemade pizza is bubbling right out of the oven. Immediately scatter a massive handful of arugula over the top while the cheese is still dangerously hot. The blistering, radiant heat radiating from the crust will instantly wilt the leaves in seconds, destroying the pathogens without turning this delicate green to ash, infusing your pizza with a rich, roasted, peppery flavor. Coming in at number 6 is mint. On an industrial scale, mint is an aggressive, creeping ground cover. It violently spreads across the surface of the soil, creating a dense, tangled mat of vines. This dense mat traps water, creating endless muddy puddles after a rainstorm. These stagnant puddles on the farm floor become the perfect breeding ground for parasites, and the low-hanging mint leaves constantly drag through this contaminated sludge before being bundled and shipped to your store. Growing mint requires absolute isolation. You must never plant mint in the same container as any other vegetable or herb. Mint possesses an aggressive, spreading rhizome system that will ruthlessly outcompete and starve any plant it shares soil with. You can easily start a new plant by taking a healthy cutting from a friend. Strip the bottom leaves off the stem and bury the bottom 2 nodes deeply into a pot filled with rich, moisture-retaining soil. Your defense strategy involves lifting the mint completely out of the danger zone by utilizing aerial cultivation. You must plant your mint in suspended hanging baskets securely fastened to your porch roof or balcony overhang. By elevating the container high into the air, you guarantee massive airflow that dries the leaves instantly after watering. Most importantly, you completely isolate the fragile leaves from ground-level splashes, contaminated patio runoff, and the chaotic foot traffic that easily tracks microscopic pathogens across your backyard surface. To keep your hanging basket looking lush, you must aggressively pinch off the growing tips every single week. This forces the plant to push out lateral branches, creating a beautiful, dense sphere of foliage. Because mint roots grow so aggressively, you must also pull the plant out once a year, trim the root ball, and add fresh soil to prevent the hanging basket from choking itself. When you want to consume it, pinch off the youngest, softest leaves at the very tips of the branches. Because raw herbs are heavily restricted during an outbreak, you must extract the flavor using thermal shock. Toss a massive handful of mint into a heavy ceramic teapot, pour rapidly boiling water directly over the leaves, and cover it tightly for exactly 3 minutes. Leaving it for 10 minutes will turn the leaves bitterly astringent, but a precise 3-minute steep pulls out the incredible essential oils while simultaneously executing a perfect, sterile pasteurization. Number 5 is green onions. You see them sitting on the open, unrefrigerated shelves of the produce section, constantly being blasted by those automated water misters. Because they are often displayed right next to root vegetables like radishes or carrots that are covered in farm dirt, the cross-contamination risk is astronomical. The water runs off the dirty root vegetables and drips directly down into the white, tubular bases of the green onions, carrying a heavy load of microscopic pathogens straight into the layers you chop up for dinner. You do not even need seeds to start growing green onions. Simply save the bottom 2 inches of the white roots from a bunch you purchased at the store. Take a long, rectangular planter box filled with moist potting mix. Use your index finger to poke deep holes in the dirt and completely submerge the white root sections into the holes, leaving only the green cut tops exposed. They will begin growing rapidly within 48 hours. Your defense strategy requires building a physical barricade right on top of the soil. Once your green onions are planted, you must completely cover the exposed potting soil with a thick, heavy layer of clean river rocks or baked clay lacquer pebbles. This stone mulch acts as a permanent, impenetrable shield. When you pour water into the container, the heavy stones prevent the wet potting soil from violently splashing up and sticking to the pristine white bases of the onion stalks, cutting off the mechanical transit route for parasites. Whenever you need a garnish, take a pair of scissors and simply snip off the green tops, leaving the white bases in the soil to continually push out new growth week after week. However, the absolute golden rule during a Cyclospora outbreak is that you never eat green onions raw as a crunchy topping. You must use high temperatures to your advantage. Throw a massive handful of chopped green onions directly into a bowl of boiling hot faux broth right as it comes off the stove, or aggressively fry them in a pan of smoking hot cooking oil to release their deep, savory aroma while completely inactivating any biological threats. At number 4, we have romaine lettuce. Romaine is arguably the most infamous vegetable in America when it comes to massive, nationwide food safety recalls. The danger lies entirely in its physical architecture. Romaine leaves grow upright and tightly overlap, forming a deep, rigid funnel. When massive commercial irrigation systems spray water over the fields, that funnel catches every single drop of contaminated water and funnels it straight down into the dark, inaccessible heart of the lettuce head, where it is impossible to clean. You must grow your romaine in long, rectangular window boxes. You need to carefully space your seedlings exactly 6 inches apart from each other. This critical spacing ensures that when the heads reach full maturity, the leaves are not violently fighting for space, allowing adequate airflow between the plants to prevent fungal diseases from taking hold in the damp soil. To completely bypass the funnel effect, you must totally reverse the way you deliver water to the plant. You must strictly practice the art of bottom watering. Do not ever pour water over the top of the romaine leaves. Instead, place a deep plastic saucer underneath the window box and only pour your clean, purified tap water directly into that bottom saucer. The potting soil will act like a giant sponge, using capillary action to slowly pull the moisture up directly to the root zone. The leaves of your romaine will remain completely bone dry from the day you plant them to the day you harvest them, completely starving any parasites of the moisture they need to survive. To harvest, simply snap off the crisp outer leaves one by one, working your way toward the center. Romaine has an incredibly sturdy, rugged cellular structure that holds up brilliantly to high heat. Instead of tossing a risky raw Caesar salad, slice the entire head of romaine directly down the middle, brush the cut sides with olive oil, and throw it face down onto a screaming hot backyard charcoal grill. The intense flames will sear the edges, creating a deeply smoky, caramelized flavor profile while guaranteeing a completely sterile, perfectly safe culinary experience. Number 3 brings us to spinach. Commercial spinach operations are notoriously problematic because the leaves grow incredibly close to the ground. The underside of the spinach leaves constantly drags across the wet, muddy commercial farm beds. Because the undersides of the leaves are heavily textured with deep veins, they act like Velcro, aggressively grabbing and holding onto parasite-rich soil. When massive harvesting machines rip the spinach from the ground, they pull that contaminated dirt right into the processing bins. Because spinach has a very shallow, weak root system, you must plant it in wide, shallow plastic containers. Fill the pot with a light, fluffy potting mix. Use your finger to draw shallow trenches across the dirt. Carefully drop the seeds in about 2 inches apart. Lightly sweep the soil back over the trenches and use a spray bottle to gently mist the surface until it is thoroughly damp. Your active defense strategy requires you to sever the bridge between the soil and the canopy. You must vigilantly patrol your containers every single week. Take a small pair of sterilized scissors and ruthlessly prune away any old, drooping leaves that are physically touching or resting heavily on the surface of the soil. By eliminating these low-hanging leaves, you ensure that no foliage acts as a physical ladder for soil-borne parasites to climb up into the clean, fresh canopy above. Always harvest the youngest, most tender leaves, commonly known as baby spinach, to guarantee the sweetest flavor. Even though baby spinach is highly prized for raw smoothies, you cannot risk your stomach health during an outbreak. You must subject the spinach to intense, rapid heat. Toss a mountain of fresh spinach into a large pot with a splash of water, cover it with a heavy lid, and let the trapped, pressurized steam aggressively wilt and sterilize the leaves in a matter of seconds. Squeeze out the excess water and enjoy a perfectly safe, nutrient-dense side dish. Coming in at number 2 is basil. Basil represents a massive cross-contamination risk due to the sheer amount of human handling required during commercial production. Basil is incredibly delicate and bruises easily, meaning it cannot be harvested by heavy machinery. It must be hand-picked by thousands of agricultural workers. If hygiene protocols fail in the field, the massive amount of bare hand contact creates a high-speed highway for parasitic transfer across thousands of pounds of fresh herbs before they are even shipped to the grocery store. To grow basil successfully, you must replicate its native tropical environment. Purchase a vibrant, healthy starter plant from a local nursery and transplant it directly into the center of an 8-inch heavy ceramic pot. You must heavily amend the potting soil by mixing in massive handfuls of white perlite rocks to guarantee explosive drainage, because basil roots will rot and die rapidly if they are left sitting in heavy, waterlogged mud. Your defense strategy against massive cross-contamination is executing a total indoor lockdown. You must place your basil pot directly on a sunny, south-facing kitchen windowsill. Do not put it outside on the patio. By physically locking the plant inside your home, you establish an impenetrable quarantine zone. It is completely shielded from contaminated rain, wild insects, and unauthorized human handling. To maintain the hygiene of the leaves, you must never wipe them with a damp paper towel. The friction will instantly bruise the fragile cellular walls and turn the foliage black. Instead, use a sterile spray bottle to gently mist the canopy once a month, allowing the pure water to naturally wash away any household dust. Whenever you need fresh basil, always pinch off the clusters of leaves at the very top of the stems to encourage the plant to grow bushier. Most importantly, the moment you see a tiny flower bud forming, you must instantly pinch it off, because allowing the plant to flower will permanently alter its chemical structure, turning the leaves tough and bitter. To eat it safely, you must abandon the classic raw caprese salad. Take your fresh, quarantine-grown basil and fold it into a heavy iron pan of spicy minced chicken right as you pull it off the flame. The blistering residual heat will instantly wilt the leaves, executing a flawless pasteurization while releasing an incredible cloud of sweet, aromatic oils into your kitchen. Finally, we have reached the #1 most dangerous item on our list: cilantro. Cilantro is the absolute worst offender and the most frequently recalled herb in the United States when it comes to Cyclospora outbreaks. The sheer scale of commercial cilantro farming is staggering, and the deeply serrated, incredibly complex structure of the cilantro leaves makes it physically impossible for industrial washing machines to scrub the parasites out of the microscopic crevices. Cilantro features a long, incredibly stubborn taproot that will curl up and stunt the plant if it hits the bottom of a shallow pot. You must select a deep container that provides at least 12 inches of vertical growing space. Poke holes about ½ an inch deep into the soil, drop a generous amount of seeds into the holes, cover them up tightly, and water the container heavily until water pours out of the bottom drainage holes. Your ultimate defense strategy for cilantro requires starting from an absolutely zero baseline of biological activity. You must never ever reuse old potting soil from your backyard garden, because it is already teeming with unknown microbes and potential pathogens. You must cultivate your cilantro in a brand new, never-before-used fabric grow bag filled entirely with pure, sterilized, virgin coconut coir, heavily enriched with a sterile organic granular fertilizer. By starting with a completely sterile synthetic environment, you guarantee that your cilantro will grow in a fortress that has never once been exposed to the chaotic biology of the outside world. Cilantro absolutely despises the blazing summer heat. If you try to grow it in the middle of July, it will instantly bolt, shoot up flowers, and die. You must plant it during the cool, forgiving days of early spring or crisp autumn. When you are ready to harvest, you can pull the entire plant out by the roots or cut it cleanly at the base. Because this herb carries the absolute highest statistical risk of harboring parasites, it must always face the fire. But boiling it for minutes will completely destroy the delicate oils that make it delicious. You must execute a precision thermal strike. Chop the cilantro aggressively. Bring a pot of rich soup to a violent rolling boil. Turn the heat off completely. Throw the fresh leaves directly into the center and instantly push them under the surface with a heavy ladle for exactly 15 seconds. That intense, rapid thermal shock is the final, undisputed executioner of any lingering pathogens. It instantly shatters the parasite's biological armor, securing the ultimate safety of your harvest while leaving that bright citrus flavor perfectly intact. The final verdict is absolutely clear. In an era where invisible parasites are constantly shutting down supermarket supply chains across the country, you cannot afford to blindly trust the commercial washing systems with your family's health. By executing this three-tiered defense system, cultivating in sterile containers, using purified municipal water, and applying the unstoppable force of high heat cooking, you build an impenetrable biological shield around your dinner table. Beyond the absolute peace of mind, there is a massive economic payoff. By utilizing the cut-and-come-again container strategies we covered today, you will stop throwing away expensive, rotting bags of recalled greens. You will save hundreds of dollars a year by harvesting exactly what you need, exactly when you need it, with zero waste. I want to hear your action plan in the comments below. Out of all 15 plants we discussed, which one is going to be the hardest for you to stop eating raw and transition to cooking with high heat? Let me know your thoughts. But don't go anywhere just yet, because our Container Orchard Masterclass is far from over. Right now, let's dive into the next 15 container vegetables to plant in July for a quick harvest for busy people. Let's get started. Kicking off our countdown at number 15 is a widely popular Japanese heirloom that has completely taken over the American culinary scene, the shishito pepper. If you have visited an upscale steakhouse or a trendy American bistro lately, you have undoubtedly seen blistered shishitos featured as a premium appetizer. The beauty of this plant is that it thrives flawlessly across all USDA zones during the summer months, actively demanding the blistering heat that July provides. To set yourself up for success, skip the tiny decorative pots and select a heavy-duty 5-gallon plastic container. Plastic is highly recommended here because it drastically slows down moisture evaporation during peak afternoon heat. You will want to fill this container with a rich, loose potting soil, but you absolutely must amend it with an extra 20% coarse perlite so the fragile roots never sit in suffocating mud. For a busy professional, time is your most valuable asset. Your ultimate speed hack is to bypass seeds entirely and purchase established shishito transplants from your local nursery. The care routine is practically hands-off. Simply give the container a deep, thorough soaking every 2 days. Unlike finicky tomatoes, this pepper is a naturally self-branching marvel that creates a dense canopy with zero pruning. Within just 3 to 4 weeks, you will be harvesting handfuls of bright green, deeply wrinkled peppers. Throw them whole into a screaming hot, rusted cast iron skillet until the skin blisters, finishing with coarse sea salt. The science making July perfect for this crop is fascinating. According to agricultural research published by the University of California Agriculture and Natural Resources, temperatures exceeding 90 degrees Fahrenheit act as an environmental trigger. This extreme heat accelerates the maturation of the pepper's cell walls, giving the shishito its signature, satisfying crunch. In fact, intense heat and fluctuating moisture are exactly what trigger the famous 1 in 10 rule. This environmental stress occasionally causes a random peppers pun 1 gene to hyperproduce capsaicin, rewarding you with an unexpected, thrilling burst of spicy heat among the sweet ones. Coming in at number 14 is the fairy tale eggplant, an absolute masterpiece of agricultural breeding engineered specifically for the modern American patio. While traditional eggplants require massive space and a long, drawn-out growing season, the fairy tale is a compact, elegant dwarf plant that thrives in containers across every USDA zone during the sweltering summer. Summer in America is synonymous with backyard BBQs, and this specific vegetable is born to be thrown onto a hot grill. Select a spacious 7-gallon unglazed terracotta pot. Its porous nature allows the root system to naturally breathe, preventing deadly root rot during suffocating humidity. Your soil mix should be exceptionally rich, heavily amended with high-quality, aged organic compost to provide a slow, steady nutrient release. The ultimate strategy for the busy gardener is to rely exclusively on high-quality transplants. Carefully place the intact root ball into your pot, firmly packing the compost-rich soil around the base. To protect your investment with minimal effort, lay down a thick 2-inch blanket of organic straw mulch to drastically reduce surface evaporation. Because it is a dwarf variety, it maintains a naturally tidy structure, meaning you never have to waste weekend hours staking it. In just 4 to 5 weeks, your patio will feature stunning miniature eggplants with vibrant streaks of neon purple and stark white. Harvest them when they are about the size of 2 fingers, slice them in half, brush heavily with olive oil, and lay them face down on the grill. The science behind this prolific production is rooted in genetic dwarfism. Evaluations conducted by the Rutgers University, New Jersey Agricultural Experiment Station confirm that this variety features drastically shortened internodes. Because the plant's DNA restricts vertical cellular elongation, it ruthlessly redirects 100% of its metabolic energy into an endless cycle of rapid flowering and fruiting, allowing for massive yields in a confined space. Securing the number 13 spot is a visually spectacular addition to your summer garden, the Royal Burgundy Bush Bean. If you love the crisp taste of snap beans but despise the tedious chore of building wooden trellises, this plant is your ultimate savior. It performs magnificently across USDA zones 3 through 11, fully embracing the midsummer heat. For your container setup, ditch the standard round pots and opt for a long rectangular window box. Bush beans possess a shallow, fibrous root system that strongly prefers horizontal spreading. Fill this container with a highly aerated, fast-draining loamy soil mix to ensure the beans do not suffocate. Unlike peppers, where we relied on transplants, the strategy here flips entirely. You must grow these exclusively by direct sowing seeds straight into your container, as beans absolutely despise having their roots disturbed. Fortunately, the scorching heat of July acts as a natural incubator. When you push these seeds 1 inch deep into warm dirt, they break dormancy and rocket out of the soil in just 4 days. However, there is a crucial botanical caveat. While the plant itself embraces the summer heat, bean pollen can become completely sterile if ambient temperatures consistently stay above 95 degrees Fahrenheit. Your ultimate heatwave hack is to provide the container with dappled afternoon shade during severe spikes, ensuring the flowers successfully pollinate in set pods. Aside from that, their care requires 0 complex fertilizing schedules. Your only maintenance is to provide a quick, gentle surface watering every evening to replenish moisture. Around the 50-day mark, you will be rewarded with a massive flush of deeply vibrant purple bean pods. They offer a fantastic, crisp texture, perfect for a fast garlic butter sauté. However, they hold a brilliant culinary party trick. The exact moment these dark purple beans hit boiling water, they instantly transform into a vivid emerald green. The science explaining this magic trick is well documented. According to chemical analyses published in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry, the intense purple coloration is entirely driven by plant pigments called anthocyanins. These complex molecules are highly sensitive to thermal degradation. The boiling water acts as an extreme heat shock that instantly breaks down the cellular structure of the anthocyanins, destroying the purple dye and revealing the vast amounts of natural green chlorophyll that were hiding underneath the entire time. At number 12, we have a plant representing the absolute soul of Southern American summer cooking, baby Bubba okra. Standard okra varieties are towering, aggressive giants that can easily shoot past 6 feet tall, making them impossible to grow on a standard urban balcony. However, the baby Bubba is a revolutionary dwarf cultivar engineered to max out at 3 feet tall, making it a powerhouse for container gardening. Okra doesn't just tolerate the blistering heat of late July, it practically demands it. To support this vigorous plant, select a highly durable, deep-set 5-gallon container. While standard garden soil is perfectly fine, the depth of the pot is non-negotiable. For maximum efficiency, growing okra from seed is highly recommended, but there is a critical step you must take. Okra seeds possess a fiercely thick seed coat that delays germination. Your speed hack is to soak the seeds in warm water overnight. This physically softens the hard outer shell. When pushed into your deep container the next morning, the hot July soil will cause them to sprout rapidly. Once established, this plant is a biological tank. If you get busy and completely forget to water your patio, the baby Bubba okra shrugs it off, pushing through severe drought conditions. By days 50 to 55, the plant produces gorgeous hibiscus-like flowers, rapidly followed by plump, tender green pods. Harvest them around 3 inches long before they become woody. Slicing these fresh pods, tossing them in seasoned cornmeal, and frying them to a golden crisp is a true American classic. The scientific reality behind its terrifying drought tolerance lies beneath the soil. Botanical field studies from the Texas A&M AgriLife Extension highlight that okra is genetically programmed to develop a massive, aggressive taproot. Even when confined to a container, this thick central root forcefully drives straight down to the absolute bottom of the pot. When surface soil turns to dusty powder under the July sun, that taproot siphons up the very last drops of residual moisture trapped at the base, keeping the plant perfectly hydrated. Taking the number 11 spot is an undeniably gorgeous superfood that completely dominates the American health scene: rainbow Swiss chard. While traditional leafy greens like spinach will instantly bolt, turn bitter, and die when July heat waves arrive, Swiss chard is a phenomenal summer survivor, providing vibrant, highly nutritious greens across every USDA zone. For container selection, you do not need a massive barrel. A shallow 3-gallon plastic pot is perfectly adequate for a bushy plant. However, the soil composition is absolutely critical. You must blend a premium potting mix with a heavy ratio of peat moss. Peat moss acts like a microscopic sponge, holding massive amounts of water and releasing it slowly, which is exactly what a leafy green desperately needs when the ambient air feels like an oven. The fastest route to a harvest for a busy person is to purchase transplants from the nursery, though sowing seeds directly is also highly effective in warm soil. The true secret to keeping this plant thriving in July is strategic placement. Position your container in an area that receives blazing morning sun but is blanketed by dappled shade during the brutal late afternoon hours. The care routine is designed for maximum efficiency through a method called cut and come again. Instead of pulling the whole plant, simply snip off the large, mature outer leaves. The plant will immediately respond by aggressively pushing out brand new foliage from its inner core. Within 30 days, you will be harvesting incredibly tender baby chard leaves, perfect for a quick stir-fry or a highly nutritious green juice. The brilliant neon pink, yellow, and blood red stems are more than just aesthetics. According to horticultural research from Cornell University's College of Agriculture and Life Sciences, these striking colors are created by complex phytonutrients known as betalains. Cornell researchers confirmed that these powerful pigments act as a highly specialized biological sunscreen. As intense ultraviolet radiation beats down, betalain pigments physically absorb and dissipate the solar energy, perfectly protecting the fragile cellular structures of the leaf from catastrophic UV damage. Before we break into our top 10, have you ever tried growing Swiss chard just to see those incredibly vibrant, neon-colored stems in person? Let me know your favorite way to cook them down in the comments. And if you are finding this summer gardening guide helpful, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Now, let's keep going. Claiming the number 10 spot on our countdown is the ultimate protein-packed summer snack that has become a massive staple in modern American diets: bush-type edamame. Essentially a specialized soybean cultivated to be eaten fresh and green, edamame is an incredibly rewarding crop that absolutely thrives under the blazing July sun across USDA zones 3 through 11. Unlike commercial soybeans requiring sprawling agricultural fields, the bush-type varieties are genetically tailored to grow into tight, compact plants that look fantastic on a patio. To maximize your yield in a small space, you can comfortably plant 2 to 3 individual plants into a single 5-gallon container. They demand a light, highly aerated, sandy loam mix. If you attempt to plant them in heavy, clay-dense topsoil, the roots will rot and the seeds will suffocate before breaking ground. For the busy professional, the planting protocol is fast. Direct sow the large seeds exactly 1 inch deep into your sandy loam. Do not waste money buying transplants, as their roots deeply resent disturbance. The absolute best part about growing edamame is what you do not have to do. You are strictly forbidden from applying heavy, nitrogen-rich chemical fertilizers. Adding synthetic nitrogen will shock the plant and severely reduce your yield. Your only responsibility is maintaining a consistent baseline of moisture. In a remarkably short 55 to 60 days, the bushy plants will be loaded with thick, fuzzy, bright green pods. Boil the pods whole in salted water and serve them steaming hot with an extra sprinkle of coarse sea salt. The science explaining why you must never fertilize this plant is a marvel of evolutionary biology. Research published by the USDA Agricultural Research Service, ARS, details how the root system of edamame forms a symbiotic relationship with specialized soil bacteria called rhizobia. These microscopic organisms colonize the roots, forming nodules that literally pull raw nitrogen gas directly out of the ambient atmosphere, manufacturing their own organic fertilizer underground without requiring a single drop of human intervention. Securing the number 9 position is a chic, visually stunning alternative to the traditional overgrown zucchini, the patty pan squash. Belonging to the summer squash family, this vibrant, scallop-edged vegetable looks exactly like a miniature flying saucer. It is highly sought after in upscale American farmers markets and performs exceptionally well across all USDA zones when planted in July. Because squash plants are notoriously heavy feeders with sprawling foliage, you cannot skimp on container size. You must select a massive, heavy-duty container, an absolute minimum of 10 to 15 gallons. The soil must be an elite, super premium mix, heavily fortified with massive amounts of rich humus and aged compost to provide the intense volume of nutrients required. To ensure a lightning-fast harvest, busy gardeners should either pick up robust transplants or direct sow 3 seeds into a raised mound of dirt directly in the center of the container. The most critical aspect of caring for patty pan squash in sweltering heat comes down to watering technique. You must exclusively apply water directly to the base of the main stem. You must absolutely never splash water over the large fuzzy green leaves. Wet foliage in the evening creates the ultimate breeding ground for powdery mildew, a devastating fungal disease. If you follow this rule, you will harvest your first crop in a blistering 45 days. The botanical science driving this rapid production is heavily tied to the July climate. Horticultural studies from the University of Florida Institute of Food and Agricultural Sciences, UF/IFAS, explain that under extreme midsummer heat, female squash flowers open and develop at double the normal speed. However, there is a catch. Sustained 100-degree heat waves can force the plant into survival mode, causing it to produce only male flowers. To hack this biological defense, you must ensure the deep root zone stays heavily hydrated. This continuous moisture signals to the plant that it has the resources to safely push out female flowers. Harvest them while they are incredibly young and tender, barely the size of a silver dollar. Slice them in half, toss in a hot pan with garlic and butter, and serve. Taking the number 8 spot is an absolute powerhouse of flavor and the undeniable soul of Mexican-American cuisine, the tomatillo. Often mistakenly called a green tomato, this unique plant thrives in the dry, oven-like heat of summer, making it a spectacular performer for container gardeners across USDA zones 5 through 11. To set up your patio for success, you need a substantial 10-gallon container. The soil should be a high-quality, well-draining garden mix, heavily amended with organic compost. The most critical physical step occurs on day 1. The exact moment you plant your tomatillo, you must securely plunge a heavy-duty, galvanized metal tomato cage deep into the pot. These plants grow with a sprawling branching structure. Forcing a cage over a mature plant later will violently snap the branches. For the busy professional looking to secure a fast harvest, you are strictly forbidden from starting from seed in July. You absolutely must purchase tall, vibrant, established transplants. Your weekly maintenance is incredibly straightforward. Tie the rapidly growing stems to the metal cage and provide a deep watering twice a week. Unlike tomatoes, tomatillos violently despise being pruned. Leave the plant entirely alone to bush out naturally. In just 4 to 5 weeks, the branches will be heavily laden with papery, lantern-like husks. When those dry husks split open to reveal a bright green sticky fruit inside, they are ready. Peel off the papery shell and throw them raw into a blender with jalapenos and cilantro to create a bright, deeply tangy salsa verde. The botanical science surrounding the tomatillo comes with a massive warning for beginners. According to the Iowa State University Extension and Outreach, tomatillos are classified biologically as obligate outcrossers. This means they possess a self-incompatibility system that strictly prohibits self-pollination. You absolutely must buy at least 2 individual plants and place their containers side by side so that local bees can successfully cross-pollinate them. Otherwise, the flowers will simply drop without producing a single fruit. Coming in at number 7 is the perfect solution for anyone who craves the crisp crunch of summer cucumbers but lacks the time or patio space to construct massive vertical trellises, the Bush Champion cucumber. Traditional cucumber vines will rapidly consume a patio, tangling around furniture. The Bush Champion, however, is genetically tailored for container life, thriving beautifully in the summer heat across USDA zones 4 through 11. Your ideal container setup is a large, wide-mouthed rectangular box, giving the plant horizontal surface area to spread. The soil needs to be a rich, heavily organic mix. For the absolute best results, blend standard potting soil with a heavy dose of pure worm castings, providing an incredible, slow-release flow of organic nutrition. Your speed hack for July is to bypass nursery transplants and direct sow the seeds straight into your rectangular container. Cucumber roots deeply resent being transplanted, often stunting the plant. But pay close attention. While they love warm soil, a plastic container baking in 100-degree direct sun will literally cook the seeds due to a phenomenon called thermo-inhibition. To hack this, direct sow the seeds into the moist container, but keep the pot in a warm, fully shaded spot for the first 4 days. The exact moment they break the surface, move them directly into the blazing sun. For the busy gardener, the care routine is a dream. You simply let the short, compact vines naturally sprawl and coil themselves into a tidy, dense mound directly on top of the soil surface. This naturally dense foliage canopy acts as a living mulch, shading the harsh sun away from the dirt and keeping the root system cool. Around the 50-day mark, this dense bush begins pumping out an astonishing number of crisp, heavily spined cucumbers. The botanical science that makes this compact growth possible is highly documented. Experts at the University of Minnesota Extension note that bush cucumber varieties possess a highly sought-after genetic mutation known as the determinate growth gene. The plant's DNA physically forces the vines to terminate their vertical elongation at roughly 2 feet. Instead of pushing endless foliage, the plant rapidly shifts all biological resources into aggressive, simultaneous fruit production, ensuring a quick, concentrated harvest. Securing the number 6 spot is an absolute titan of American agriculture and a legendary staple of Southern soul food, the bush purple hull pea. If you are looking for a plant that will literally laugh in the face of a blistering July heat wave, this is your ultimate warrior. While delicate vegetables wither and collapse, the purple hull pea thrives in the absolute worst, most punishing summer conditions imaginable across USDA zones 6 through 11. To get started, you only need a standard 5-gallon plastic bucket with plenty of drainage holes. The soil requirement is beautifully low maintenance. They do not want highly pampered, ultra-rich organic loam. A standard, highly porous, fast-draining potting soil, even if it is sandy and nutrient-poor, is exactly the harsh environment they prefer. For the busy professional, the planting protocol is astonishingly simple. You must direct sow the seeds straight into your container, as they germinate incredibly fast in hot soil and deeply despise being transplanted. Once the seedlings emerge, your primary job is to aggressively ignore them. Do not pamper them with daily waterings, and absolutely do not apply chemical fertilizers. If you spoil them with too much water and nitrogen, the plant will push out a massive canopy of useless green leaves and completely refuse to produce peas. They thrive on stress. If you forget to water them for a few days, they will simply hunker down and reward your neglect with an even heavier crop. In about 55 to 65 days, your container will be draped with stunning, deep purple pods. Shell the fresh peas and slow simmer them with chunks of smoky bacon for the ultimate American summer meal. The botanical science behind their terrifying heat resistance lies in their cellular structure. Agricultural research from the Mississippi State University Extension explains that this plant has evolved highly sensitive stomata, microscopic leaf pores. The exact moment ambient temperatures crest 100 degrees, the stomata violently slam shut, locking in every drop of internal moisture and completely preventing transpiration, guaranteeing drought survival. Thriving on pure neglect makes the bush purple hull pea a truly unique addition to any summer garden. Do you prefer growing pampered, heavy-feeding vegetables, or are these rugged, drought-tolerant warriors more your style? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe before we break into the top 5. Taking the number 5 spot on our list is the undisputed king of the American backyard barbecue, and a plant that absolutely demands the intense radiation of the summer sun, the early jalapeno pepper. This spectacular heat-loving champion thrives beautifully in containers across USDA zones 4 through 11, eagerly absorbing the extreme temperatures. A sturdy 5-gallon plastic or resin pot is the perfect permanent home, providing excellent thermal protection for the root zone. Fill this container with a highly aerated, premium organic humus blend, heavily cut with coconut coir. The coir acts like a million microscopic sponges, violently absorbing water when you irrigate and slowly releasing it back to the roots during scorching afternoons. Because time is of the essence in July, you must completely avoid sowing seeds. Visit a local nursery and meticulously select established jalapeno transplants that are already pushing out tiny white flowers or early green buds. Once potted on your patio, the care routine is straightforward. Jalapenos hate having wet feet, so practice extreme watering discipline. Wait until the top surface of the soil is completely dry and bone white before you heavily drench the pot. This wet-to-dry cycle forces the roots to dive deep into the container, creating a wildly robust plant requiring practically no maintenance. Within an astonishing 3 to 4 weeks, your plant will be heavily burdened with thick, glossy, emerald green peppers. Slice them in half, stuff them with rich cream cheese, wrap them tightly in bacon, and throw them directly onto a roaring grill. The science of the jalapeno is visually written right on the skin of the fruit. According to the premier pepper researchers at the New Mexico State University NMSU Chili Pepper Institute, the fine, brown, web-like cracking lines running vertically down the green skin, known as corking, are not a disease. The extreme summer heat causes the internal fleshy tissue of the pepper to undergo rapid cellular expansion, literally ripping the outer epidermal layer. This corking is the ultimate scientific indicator that your pepper has reached its absolute peak concentration of capsaicin. Securing the number 4 spot is a radically different, highly unusual take on a classic summer herb that will completely transform your culinary experience. Spicy globe basil. When most people think of basil, they picture tall, leggy plants that require constant management, but the spicy globe variety is a bizarre genetic marvel that naturally grows into a perfectly tight, spherical ball. It thrives beautifully in intense summer heat across USDA zones 4 through 11. Because this plant is naturally diminutive and incredibly compact, you do not need a massive container. A small, elegant 6-inch ceramic pot is perfectly adequate, making it the ideal candidate for a cramped apartment windowsill or a tiny patio table. Fill this small pot with a rich, moisture-retaining soil mix to ensure the incredibly shallow root system does not bake during the afternoon. For a busy gardener looking for immediate impact, purchasing a small, established plug from the nursery and transplanting it is the most efficient route. What makes this the ultimate herb for people with zero free time is its completely self-managing growth habit. Traditional basil varieties require constant, tedious pinching, snapping off the top growth nodes to force the plant to grow wide. The spicy globe completely eliminates this chore. It is genetically programmed to branch aggressively outward on its own, naturally forming a flawless, densely packed green globe without you ever touching a pair of pruning shears. In a rapid 20 to 30 days, you can begin continuously harvesting the foliage. The leaves pack a sharper, slightly more peppery punch than sweet basil. Simply tear off a handful and scatter them whole across a hot margarita pizza or a summer caprese salad. The botanical science that allows this plant to survive a hot patio table is tied directly to its physical structure. Botanists at the Herb Society of America highlight that the spicy globe features microphylla leaves, meaning the leaves are shockingly small. By drastically reducing the physical surface area of its foliage, the plant exponentially decreases the rate of transpiration, allowing it to fiercely retain internal hydration and avoid the catastrophic midday wilting that plagues large leaf varieties. Taking the number 3 spot is a vegetable deeply woven into the cultural fabric of the American South, grown using a radical, high-speed technique perfectly designed for July: collard greens. Traditionally, collards are viewed strictly as a cool season, massive winter crop. However, by utilizing a specific baby harvest hack, you can turn them into a rapid-fire summer success story in almost any USDA zone. You do not want a standard deep bucket. Select a wide, shallow rectangular tray or a large window box to maximize horizontal growing area. Because we are going to force this plant to rapidly push out green foliage, the soil must be a hyper-nutritious powerhouse. You need a premium potting mix heavily fortified with a massive payload of organic nitrogen, such as rich compost or blood meal. The planting strategy completely breaks traditional rules. Instead of carefully spacing out individual plants, take a handful of collard seeds and broadcast them incredibly thickly, sowing them shoulder to shoulder across the entire surface. Your only real maintenance task is daily hydration. For a busy professional, this simply means giving the surface of the soil a heavy drenching every single morning before work, ensuring the densely packed, highly competitive root systems never dry out beneath the summer sun. By employing this high-density strategy, you force a massive canopy of tender greens to erupt, ready for harvest in an astonishing 30 to 40 days. Instead of waiting for massive, tough leaves, clear-cut the container, harvesting the delicate baby leaves. Throw them into a hot pan and quickly sauté them with crushed garlic and smoky bacon for a fast, southern side dish. The botanical science behind this hack is brilliant. According to agricultural research from the University of Georgia Extension, when mature brassica plants are subjected to intense summer heat, they aggressively synthesize complex sulfur compounds called glucosinolates as a defense mechanism, which makes large summer leaves taste violently bitter. By harvesting the plant while it is still in its juvenile baby stage, you actively bypass the plant's biological clock, securing the tender biomass long before the intense heat can trigger the production of those foul-tasting compounds. Securing the highly coveted number 2 position is a wildly resilient, historically misunderstood plant currently dominating the American health food market: golden purslane. For decades, traditional American gardeners aggressively eradicated purslane, viewing it as an invasive weed. Today, agricultural science has rebranded it as an elite superfood, and it is an absolute champion for container gardening in the blistering heat of July across every USDA zone. Because the plant naturally develops a microscopic, sprawling root system, container depth is completely irrelevant. You can successfully grow it in practically anything that holds dirt, from a shallow seedling tray to an old baking pan. Furthermore, it violently despises rich, heavily composted soil. You must use a highly abrasive, incredibly well-draining mix, heavily cut with massive amounts of coarse sand, perlite, or fine gravel to replicate a harsh, rocky environment. The planting process is designed for maximum speed. Simply take the microscopic seeds and lightly scatter them across the surface of your sandy soil. Do not cover them with dirt. They biologically require direct exposure to sunlight to break dormancy. Once sprouted, golden purslane becomes the ultimate companion for a forgetful gardener. It is practically immortal under the summer sun. You do not need to fertilize it, and you should actively avoid watering it until the shallow soil has baked into a bone-dry crust. In exactly 30 days, this rugged survivor will reward you with a sprawling mat of thick, succulent, bright yellow-green leaves. Snip off the thick stems and toss them raw into a summer salad for a juicy crunch and a bright, slightly lemony flavor profile. The botanical science explaining its terrifying heat resistance and superfood status is awe-inspiring. Research published by the National Institutes of Health, NIH, confirms that purslane operates using an advanced mechanism called CAM photosynthesis, the exact biological survival system used by desert cacti. During the boiling heat of a July day, the plant tightly seals its stomata to preserve internal water, only opening its pores at night to absorb carbon dioxide. The NIH also verifies that these succulent leaves contain the highest concentration of heart-healthy omega-3 fatty acids of any terrestrial leafy green vegetable on the planet. Taking the undisputed crown at the #1 spot is a true marvel of modern horticulture, explicitly engineered for busy people with zero space, the micro-dwarf tomato. When you think of growing tomatoes, you picture massive, sprawling vines requiring heavy steel cages and endless maintenance. Microdwarfs completely shatter that reality. Varieties like the Micro Tom or Orange Hat are biologically locked into a miniature state. Thriving effortlessly in USDA zones 3 through 11 during intense summer heat, the container requirements are almost comically small. A micro-dwarf tomato will reach its absolute maximum potential in a tiny, standard 6-inch plastic pot, roughly the size of a cereal bowl. Fill this tiny pot with a standard, high-quality, well-draining potting soil. For the busy professional looking for a lightning-fast July harvest, you must strictly avoid seeds and immediately purchase established micro-dwarf transplants from a specialty nursery. Once potted, the maintenance protocol is an absolute dream. You are strictly forbidden from building a trellis or staking the plant. More importantly, you must absolutely never pinch off the suckers or prune the lateral branches, as doing so will permanently destroy your harvest. Your only job is to place the tiny pot on a sun-drenched windowsill or a cramped apartment balcony and keep the small volume of soil consistently hydrated. Because extreme 95-degree heat can temporarily sterilize tomato pollen, the ultimate hack for July is utilizing the plant's extreme portability. Simply slide the tiny pot into the afternoon shade or tuck it behind a patio chair during the most brutal hours of the day to protect the fragile pollen and guarantee a heavy fruit set. In an astonishing 3 to 4 weeks after transplanting, this microscopic plant will aggressively push out dozens of tiny, brilliant red or bright orange cherry tomatoes. You simply pluck the sun-warmed, sugary sweet tomatoes right off the miniature vine and pop them into your mouth like a healthy summer snack. This agricultural miracle is driven by a deeply fascinating genetic mutation. According to geneticists at the University of Florida's tomato breeding program, micro-dwarf tomatoes possess the highly coveted brachytic trait. This specific double dwarf mutation violently compresses the physical structure of the plant, permanently locking its maximum vertical height to under 12 inches. However, it leaves the plant's reproductive system entirely untouched, resulting in the highest leaf-to-fruit ratio in the botanical kingdom, and forcing every ounce of metabolic energy into ripening a massive payload of fruit in record time. The botanical pro tip, the liquid feed hack. Before we wrap up, I need to share a massive botanical pro tip that will completely save your summer harvest and prevent you from falling into the most common beginner trap, the slow-release fertilizer trap. When you are trying to push these 15 vegetables to produce a quick harvest in just 30 to 50 days, the biggest mistake a busy gardener can make is sprinkling dry, granular slow-release fertilizer on top of the soil. Botanical soil science is very clear on this. Those hard little pellets require constant moisture and a massive army of soil microbes to slowly break them down into a usable form. This physical degradation process takes an average of 3 to 4 weeks. By the time that granular fertilizer actually becomes available for the roots to absorb, your rapid growth summer vegetables have already passed their peak harvest window. Furthermore, the heavy, frequent watering you must do to keep pots cool in July physically leaches whatever nutrients are in the soil straight out the bottom drainage holes. For the busy professional, the ultimate solution is to implement fertigation, the process of combining your watering and fertilizing into one highly efficient step. Abandon dry pellets and switch exclusively to a high-quality, water-soluble liquid organic fertilizer, such as fish emulsion or liquid kelp extract. The science behind this is bulletproof. Liquid fertilizers offer instant bioavailability. The exact second you pour it into the pot, the plant's roots and epidermal leaf pores can instantly absorb the heavy payload of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. By adding a capful of liquid fertilizer to your watering can once a week, you perfectly replace nutrients washed away by heavy summer watering, instantly feeding the plant and aggressively pushing it to accelerate its growth. So, we have delved into the 15 best container vegetables for a quick harvest in the scorching heat of July. Being busy is no longer a valid excuse to give up on your gardening dreams. Now, you have the exact botanical blueprints to beat the heat, shorten the timeline, and transform a few small pots into a highly productive, sun-drenched summer oasis. Which of these heat-loving, fast-growing vegetables is best suited for your cramped balcony or busy schedule this July? Let me know in the comments section below. But don't go anywhere just yet, because our Container Orchard Masterclass is far from over. Right now, let's dive into the next 15 container vegetables you'll deeply regret not planting in July. Let's get started. Kicking off our countdown at number 15 is a phenomenal drought-tolerant vining plant native to the hot, arid regions of Mexico and Central America, the cucamelon. Also widely known as the Mexican sour gherkin, this highly vigorous climbing plant produces hundreds of tiny, grape-sized fruits that look exactly like miniature watermelons but taste like crisp cucumbers perfectly soaked in fresh lime juice. Standard cucumbers often collapse and die under July's intense UV rays because their expansive leaves transpire water faster than their roots can drink. The cucamelon, however, possesses a brilliant evolutionary adaptation, highly specialized, micro-sized foliage. Because its leaves are incredibly small, it drastically reduces its overall surface area, naturally minimizing the enormous amount of water usually lost to daytime transpiration. Furthermore, as the summer progresses, the cucamelon secretly develops a substantial, thick, radish-like tuber deep underground inside your pot. This subterranean structure functions as a hidden water and energy reservoir, allowing the plant to easily survive severe, multi-day heat waves without dropping a single flower. For your container setup, you absolutely must use a deep 5 to 10 gallon pot paired with a lightweight vertical trellis. The soil should be well draining, heavily amended with perlite to prevent root rot during heavy summer thunderstorms. Agricultural data published by the University of California Cooperative Extension shows that cucamelons robustly thrive in hot, arid, high-stress conditions, making the brutal month of July the absolute ultimate window to watch this vigorous vine completely take over your balcony. They require virtually zero pruning, ignore common garden pests, and provide a relentless, crunchy harvest all the way until the first autumn frost. Fun fact: cucamelons are not a modern genetically modified hybrid. They are a pure, ancient heirloom crop that was heavily cultivated and eaten by the Aztec civilization long before European explorers ever arrived in the Americas. Coming in at number 14 is a brilliant botanical imposter that completely laughs at heat waves and solves the biggest frustration of summer gardening: the Armenian cucumber. If you try to grow standard traditional slicing cucumbers in a patio pot during the middle of July, the extreme heat and drought stress almost always trigger a profound biological panic response. The stressed plant will flood its developing fruits with cucurbitacins, the exact chemical compounds that turn cucumbers horribly, inedibly bitter. The Armenian cucumber flawlessly bypasses this frustrating problem because, scientifically speaking, it isn't actually a cucumber at all. It is genetically classified as a heavily ribbed melon. Because it shares its core, ancient genetics, with desert-dwelling melons, it possesses a much thicker, highly reflective waxy cuticle layer completely coating its leaves. This biological heat shield intensely locks in internal moisture and physically reflects the harsh July UV rays away, preventing solar radiation from destroying its delicate cellular walls. For your patio setup, a substantial 10-gallon plastic pot and a sturdy, heavy-duty trellis are absolutely required to support the large, pale green fruits that can easily reach 3 feet in length. You must keep the soil consistently moist, but thanks to its melon genetics, a missed watering won't ruin the flavor of the harvest. Backing up its incredible resilience for southern gardeners, extensive crop research published by the Texas A&M AgriLife Extension explicitly confirms that Armenian cucumbers are biologically programmed to maintain their crisp, sweet flavor and high water content even when daytime temperatures consistently and brutally exceed 95 degrees Fahrenheit. Fun fact: because the Armenian cucumber is genetically a melon, its blossoms physically cannot cross-pollinate with regular garden cucumbers. You can safely plant them right next to each other in your container garden without fear of mutant hybrid seeds. Sitting at number 13 is an unstoppable vining marvel that actively pumps water with the mechanical efficiency of a high-powered industrial engine, the loofah gourd. Most Americans only know the loofah as a dried, abrasive bath sponge, completely unaware that when it is harvested young, tender, and green, it is an incredibly delicious, zucchini-like summer vegetable heavily utilized in traditional Asian cuisine. The biological secret to the loofah's remarkable July growth rate is its broad, wide-open vascular system. The internal xylem vessels inside a loofah vine are extraordinarily wide compared to standard garden plants. This anatomical advantage allows the root system to pump enormous, heavy volumes of water all the way from the soil up to the tips of its vines in mere seconds. When the July heat peaks, the plant transpires rapidly, physically acting like a biological evaporative air conditioner to keep its expansive, umbrella-like leaf canopy perfectly cool while it climbs. For your container specs, you absolutely need a substantial, heavy 15-gallon pot to anchor it, paired with the strongest, tallest trellis you can possibly construct, as this plant will easily grow 20 to 30 feet if allowed. The root system is ravenously hungry, requiring frequent top dressings of organic compost throughout July. Proving its strict requirement for intense heat, horticultural reports from North Carolina State University note that the loofah gourd strictly requires the blistering heat and incredibly long daylight hours of midsummer to successfully trigger its heavy flowering phase, successfully turning your baking hot patio into a deeply shaded, lush green oasis. Fun fact: the mature, dried, fibrous network of the loofah gourd is so incredibly tough and resilient that during World War II, the United States Navy actually utilized millions of dried loofah sponges as highly effective organic water and oil filters for their steam-powered naval warships. For number 12, get ready for a highly unique crop that is biologically engineered to survive the harshest, most punishing deserts on Earth: garbanzo beans, more commonly known as chickpeas. Most urban gardeners never even think to grow these in containers, but they are the ultimate bulletproof, low-maintenance July crop. The true biological superpower of the garbanzo bean lies entirely on the surface of its foliage. If you physically touch the delicate fern-like leaves of a chickpea plant, they feel noticeably sticky and slightly damp. This is because the entire surface of the plant is completely covered in microscopic, highly active glandular hairs that constantly exude a natural sticky coating of malic and oxalic acid. This incredible acidic barrier serves a dual survival purpose. It not only severely deters almost all summer insect pests from eating the leaves, but it physically traps a dense micro-layer of humidity tightly against the leaf surface, drastically slowing down internal water evaporation. A 5 to 7 gallon fabric grow bag is absolutely perfect for these compact, highly architectural bushes. They do not require any trellising, making them incredibly easy to manage on a windy balcony. Providing substantial global validation, the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, officially recognizes chickpeas as one of the most extremely drought-resistant, heat-tolerant legume crops available to humanity. They strictly require the baking, dry heat, and long daylight hours of July to successfully fill out their crisp, protein-packed pods, giving you an incredibly rewarding, nutty harvest that is completely immune to the dog days of summer. Fun fact: the leftover water from boiling dried chickpeas, or the liquid found inside a can of garbanzo beans, is scientifically known as aquafaba. This liquid contains such a perfect, bizarre mix of starches and proteins that it whips exactly like raw egg whites, making it the most legendary vegan baking substitute in the world. Just outside our top 10, at number 11, is a fascinating tropical vining legume that spends the entire blistering summer secretly hoarding massive amounts of water and energy underground: jicama. Also widely known as the Mexican yam bean, this substantial vining plant is grown specifically for its large, crisp, apple-like subterranean tubers. If you try to grow jicama strictly during short, cool spring seasons, it will yield absolutely nothing but disappointment. While you must start the seeds in the spring due to its incredibly long growing season, it actively demands the longest, hottest, most punishing days of July to actually thrive and expand its roots. The biological brilliance of jicama is its highly calculated survival strategy. During the searing, 100-degree midsummer days, the plant forcefully directs almost all of its metabolic energy downward into expanding its underground tuber, which functions as an expansive, starchy water reservoir. The long vining top growth can easily endure brutal, scorching heat because it chemically knows it has a large, secure tank of hydration safely waiting beneath the soil surface. You absolutely need a deep, 15-inch fabric grow bag to give the tuber the physical room required to expand, paired with a tall vertical trellis for the vines. Do not let the plant flower. Rigorously pinch off any blossoms you see in July to force all energy back into the tuber. Highlighting its incredible nutritional profile, the USDA Food Data Central database confirms that jicama tubers are heavily loaded with inulin, a highly specialized complex prebiotic dietary fiber that selectively feeds beneficial gut bacteria and stabilizes human blood sugar. Fun fact: while the subterranean tuber is completely safe, sweet, and delicious, literally every other part of the jicama plant, including the vines, leaves, flowers, and bean pods, is highly toxic to humans and insects, naturally producing a powerful biological pesticide known as rotenone.
What did you think of those first 5 vegetables? Did any of them impress you? Let me know down in the comments below. Now, let's dive straight into the top 10 of today's list. Let's keep it moving.
At number 10 is a tropical powerhouse that actively uses the sweltering, suffocating July humidity to perform absolute biological miracles underground: turmeric. Beginners almost always fail with turmeric because they try to plant the expensive rhizomes outdoors in cool, damp, early spring soil, which causes them to instantly rot and die. Turmeric is native to the intense monsoon regions of Southeast Asia. While you should start sprouting them in a warm indoor spot in late spring, they strictly require the baking heat of July to safely explode with growth and rapidly expand. The secret weapon behind turmeric's absolute love for the brutal summer sun is its substantial, architectural, deeply veined leaves. These broad, gorgeous leaves act as giant biological solar panels, capturing maximum UV radiation to fuel underground growth. During the absolute peak of a July afternoon, the plant robustly transpires water through these large leaves, intentionally creating a localized, thick microclimate of high humidity that naturally cools the plant's entire canopy. Your container specifications strictly require a wide, shallow grow bag, at least 15 to 20 inches across, because the valuable rhizomes multiply horizontally just below the surface, not vertically. The soil must be rich in organic compost and kept consistently damp. Emphasizing its incredible health value, agricultural data published by the University of Hawaii explicitly notes that turmeric achieves its absolute highest, most potent concentration of curcumin, the powerful, naturally occurring anti-inflammatory compound responsible for its medical benefits when it is actively subjected to the long, intensely hot, and incredibly bright summer days of July. Fun fact: turmeric produces a yellow pigment so impossibly vibrant and permanent that for thousands of years it has been the exclusive, traditional botanical dye used to color the iconic, glowing saffron orange robes worn by Buddhist monks across Southeast Asia. Moving down to number 9 is an absolute staple of the American South that treats hot, muggy, suffocating summer nights as a direct biological trigger for explosive food production: bush lima beans. Many new gardeners get incredibly frustrated in July when their standard traditional green beans grow lush, beautiful green leaves but suddenly drop all their delicate blossoms without producing a single pod. This heartbreaking event happens because high nighttime temperatures literally and physically sterilize regular bean pollen, destroying the harvest. Lima beans, however, are a completely different, ancient beast. Native to the brutal, unforgiving heat of Central America, lima beans possess specialized heat-activated pollen. They actually prefer and biologically require hot, suffocating July nights to successfully fertilize and set their heavy pods. Furthermore, even the compact bush varieties of lima beans develop an incredibly deep, rigorous taproot that relentlessly dives straight to the bottom of your container, allowing them to access trapped moisture that other shallow-rooted plants simply cannot reach. A deep, 5-gallon fabric grow bag works perfectly to support this taproot. Highlighting its absolute reliability, the Penn State Extension officially recommends bush lima beans as the ultimate fail-proof midsummer legume because their incredibly thick, waxy, leathery leaves robustly resist solar wilting, ensuring an abundant harvest of rich, buttery beans exactly when traditional crops fail. Fun fact: lima bean plants are biological masterminds. When they are physically attacked by leaf-chewing caterpillars, the plant literally analyzes the insect's saliva and instantly releases a highly specific airborne chemical distress signal that summons parasitic wasps from miles away to hunt down and kill the caterpillars. At number 8 is an incredibly productive, fast-growing legume that utilizes complex subterranean chemistry to completely ignore poor soil and blistering heat waves: edamame. Planting soybeans in containers during the dead of July is a genius move because they absolutely thrive in the extreme heat, completely outpacing standard garden crops. As active members of the legume family, edamame plants house highly specialized biological nodules on their root systems that are packed filled with rhizobium bacteria. These incredible bacteria physically pull raw nitrogen gas directly from the open air and rapidly convert it into a highly usable organic plant fertilizer deep underground. This self-sustaining biological nitrogen factory allows the edamame plant to maintain incredibly lush, dense, dark green growth, even if the intense daily July watering schedule flushes all the liquid nutrients out of your potting mix. A wide, 10-gallon container can easily and comfortably hold several tightly packed plants, creating a stunning, bushy display on your patio. Backing up their incredible speed, agricultural research from the University of Illinois Extension highlights that edamame planted in the absolute peak heat of summer matures at a remarkably rapid rate, vigorously accelerating its vegetative phase. This allows you to harvest perfectly tender, buttery, protein-packed pods for your summer stir-fries in record time, completely maximizing your limited container space. Fun fact: edamame stands out as a true nutritional unicorn in the botanical world. It is one of the incredibly rare, naturally occurring plant-based foods that is considered a complete protein, meaning it miraculously contains all 9 essential amino acids required for human survival. Claiming the number 7 spot are traditional bush beans, but specifically executed with a highly strategic July twist. While standard, climbing pole beans might heavily struggle with severe blossom drop and heat exhaustion in the peak of July, highly compact bush beans can be planted successively right in the middle of the summer to guarantee an abundant, overwhelming autumn harvest. Because the ambient container soil is already baking hot in July, bush bean seeds planted directly into the dirt germinate at an astonishing rate, often breaking the soil surface and displaying their first true leaves in just 3 to 4 days. The absolute, non-negotiable trick to making them thrive in the crushing July heat is heavily coating your seeds in a commercially available bacterial inoculant powder right before planting. This completely supercharges the root system, allowing the young plant to rapidly establish its vascular network and vigorously push out a generous flush of pods before the intense heat can severely stress the upper foliage. A 5-gallon pot easily holds 3 to 4 robust plants. According to detailed crop life cycle studies by Cornell University, actively utilizing the hot, pre-warmed soil of July exponentially accelerates the vegetative phase of bush beans, rewarding you with a substantial, highly concentrated, all at once harvest in just under 50 short days, completely bypassing the slow, sluggish growth of early spring plantings. Fun fact, beans are a vital component of the legendary Three Sisters agricultural method utilized by Native American tribes. While climbing pole beans were historically used to scale the cornstalks, the legume family as a whole acts as a natural, biological nitrogen pump, securely storing nitrogen in its roots to perfectly fertilize the soil for other hungry crops once the plant decomposes. At number 6, we have a Mexican culinary staple that has become incredibly popular in American gardens, heavily utilizing its own bizarre anatomy to build a physical, climate-controlled fortress against the July sun, the tomatillo. If you try to grow tomatillos in the cool, damp weather of early spring, they will sit highly stunted and miserable for months. They strictly require the intense, baking heat of July to successfully trigger their rapid, sprawling vining stage. The biological genius of the tomatillo is its papery outer husk, scientifically known as the calyx. While the intense, burning July sun can easily cause severe sunscald, cracking, and boiling on the skin of regular tomatoes, the tomatillo's papery husk physically acts as a natural shade sail and a humidity dome. It completely wraps the developing green fruit, securely trapping a microclimate of moisture inside and physically shielding the delicate skin from harmful UV radiation. For your container specifications, you need large, heavy, 10-gallon pots to support their expansive, sprawling branches. Here is the absolute, most critical golden rule. You must plant at least 2 tomatillo plants right next to each other. They are strictly self-incompatible, meaning a single plant will produce hundreds of bright yellow flowers, but absolutely zero fruit without a genetic partner nearby. According to crop research from the University of Illinois Extension, when grown in hot summer containers with a pollinating partner, tomatillos become insanely prolific. Fun fact, despite looking like a modern green tomato, the tomatillo is an ancient, highly revered crop. Archaeological excavations have discovered fossilized tomatillos in Mexico, proving they were cultivated by the Aztecs and Mayans long before the traditional tomato was ever widely domesticated.
Are you impressed by these vegetables? Do you already have any of them growing in your garden? Let me know in the comments. Now, let's head into the top 5 of our list. Make sure you stick around for the final vegetable. It is absolutely going to surprise you. Let's step into number 5.
Entering our top 5 is a phenomenal, visually stunning, heat-proof alternative to traditional summer salads, New Zealand spinach. When the brutal dog days of July arrive, standard, cool-weather leafy greens like romaine, arugula, or traditional spinach instantly bolt, turn incredibly bitter, and rapidly die off. New Zealand spinach steps in as the ultimate hot weather replacement, utilizing a highly advanced evolutionary survival trick. If you examine the triangular, fleshy, succulent-like leaves of this plant under bright sunlight, they look as if they are completely covered in tiny, sparkling ice crystals. These are actually highly specialized epidermal water bladders. The plant actively and intentionally stores excess water inside these microscopic bubbles directly on the outer surface of the leaf. When the punishing 100-degree July sun hits the canopy, these bladders physically reflect the intense sunlight and UV rays away like millions of tiny mirrors, keeping the internal core of the leaf perfectly cool and hydrated. For container gardening, an 8-inch deep pot or an elevated hanging basket is absolutely ideal, as the plant loves to sprawl and trail beautifully over the edges. Validating its exceptional performance, horticultural data from Cornell University confirms that New Zealand spinach thrives in extreme summer temperatures and is completely, biologically, immune to the heat-induced bolting that destroys regular spinach, providing an unbroken supply of fresh, crisp greens all summer long. Fun fact, during his legendary historic voyage on the HMS Endeavour in the 1700s, British explorer Captain James Cook physically foraged this exact plant from the shores of New Zealand and fed it to his sailors, successfully utilizing its substantial vitamin C payload to eradicate the deadly disease of scurvy on his ship. For number 4, we have a highly productive crop that uses extreme vertical architecture to physically escape the suffocating baking ground heat, pole beans. Specifically, Choosing heat-tolerant heirloom varieties or Asian yard-long beans is the ultimate secret to a highly successful July container garden. While the surface of your concrete patio or wooden balcony might be absolutely baking at 110 degrees Fahrenheit, ambient temperatures actually drop significantly just a few feet in the air. By providing a tall, sturdy vertical trellis, pole beans vigorously climb upward, capturing vital, cooling summer breezes that keep their entire expansive leaf foliage incredibly well ventilated. This robust vertical growth habit completely prevents the devastating fungal diseases, like powdery mildew, that heavily breed in hot, stagnant, humid air at ground level. You will absolutely need a heavy, substantial 10-gallon pot to anchor the trellis and prevent severe summer windstorms from knocking the large vine over. Horticultural research from the University of California notes that climbing beans intensely utilize the bright, unbroken July sunlight to purely fuel their rapid vertical expansion, creating an expansive, living green wall that can actually cast a highly beneficial, cooling shadow over the rest of your vulnerable patio plants, making them both a food source and a biological sunshade. Fun fact: standard pole beans are biologically hardwired with an internal genetic compass. No matter where you plant them in the world, the moment their vines touch a trellis, they will always, without fail, reliably twine and climb in a strict counterclockwise direction. Claiming the bronze medal at number 3 is a plant that uses the superheated baking soil of a July container as a literal metabolic ignition switch: summer squash, including the classic green zucchini and the bright yellow crookneck. Most traditional gardeners plant summer squash in the early spring, only to painfully watch it struggle, rot, and stunt against cold, wet soil and early-season insect pests. Planting a highly compact, bush variety summer squash right in the absolute middle of July completely skips this vulnerable, stunted phase entirely. The intensely hot potting soil kicks the plant's biological and metabolic engine into extreme overdrive. Because the soil is already at peak summer temperature, the roots expand instantly without any shock, and the plant leaps straight into an astonishingly fast vegetative growth phase. A substantial, heavy 10 to 15 gallon container is absolutely mandatory to hold enough water to support its giant leaves. Purdue University Extension highly reports that summer squash planted in midsummer grows so incredibly rapidly that it actually physically outpaces the life cycle of the dreaded destructive squash vine borer insect. By delaying your planting until July, you allow the first catastrophic generation of these pests to die off, rewarding you with a bountiful, problem-free, high-yield harvest just weeks after planting. Fun fact: if your plant produces dozens of large, bright yellow flowers but fails to set fruit, don't throw the flowers away. Summer squash blossoms are an elite, highly prized culinary delicacy that can be stuffed with fresh ricotta cheese and flash-fried in heavy batter. Our runner-up at number 2 brilliantly solves the absolute biggest, most devastating hydration problem of the entire summer: bush cucumbers. Standard, vining cucumbers are highly notorious for completely wilting and catastrophically collapsing during a 100-degree July afternoon. This severe wilting happens because the vital water has to physically travel several long feet up a very thin, highly stressed vine to reach the expansive canopy of leaves. Bush cucumbers, however, are genetically and selectively bred to remain highly compact and incredibly dense. Because of this extremely short, highly efficient vascular system, water that is actively pumped from the roots reaches the entire leaf canopy almost instantly, drastically reducing the severe physiological stress of afternoon heat wilt. Furthermore, growing these compact bushes in a deep 5 to 10 gallon container allows their robust roots to dive straight down into the cool, dark, moist center of the potting soil, perfectly insulated from the baking surface heat. You must harvest them frequently. The more you pick, the more the plant will prolifically produce. The University of Georgia Extension explicitly confirms that choosing highly compact bush varieties for summer containers guarantees a significantly higher survival and fruiting rate during peak, brutal heat waves compared to their sprawling, highly vulnerable vining cousins. Fun fact: the flesh of a cucumber is biologically composed of 95% pure water. Because of its intense liquid volume and naturally occurring electrolytes, consuming a raw cucumber actually drops your internal body temperature, which is the literal scientific origin of the famous phrase, "cool as a cucumber." Taking the absolute crown at number 1, the ultimate holy grail of the summer patio that has been genetically tailored to conquer the blistering heat, bush tomatoes. The absolute biggest heartbreak in all of gardening is watching a large, beautiful tomato plant drop all of its bright yellow flowers in July without producing a single, solitary fruit, simply because the nighttime temperatures stayed above 75 degrees Fahrenheit. The ultimate professional secret is completely abandoning massive, vining, indeterminate tomatoes in July and exclusively planting highly heat-tolerant, determinate bush varieties, such as the famous Solar Fire or the Florida 91. These highly specific, genetically robust bush varieties were scientifically bred to possess heat-stable pollen. They absolutely do not care how hot and suffocating the July nights get. Their pollen remains perfectly viable and highly active, ensuring every single yellow flower successfully turns into a substantial, red, juicy tomato. A 10 to 15 gallon container is absolutely perfect to support their heavy, fruit-laden branches, and because they are determinate, they do not require tall, towering cages. The University of Florida Institute of Food and Agricultural Sciences, IFAS, officially recognizes these heat-tolerant bush tomatoes as the absolute only reliable, fail-proof way to guarantee a bountiful, heavy harvest of flawless slicing tomatoes right through the absolute most brutal, scorching dog days of summer. Fun fact, despite biologically containing seeds, making it scientifically a fruit, the United States Supreme Court legally, officially, and unanimously declared the tomato to be a vegetable in the historic 1893 legal case Nix versus Hedden, purely for the purposes of enforcing agricultural import taxes.
Before we wrap up, we need to immediately address the single fastest, most devastating way your plants die in July. The delicate root systems, literally and physically cooking inside thin plastic containers. When the searing July sun directly hits the side of a black or dark-colored nursery pot, the internal soil temperature can violently spike to over 120 degrees Fahrenheit, literally boiling the roots alive and instantly killing the plant. To stop this catastrophic damage instantly, you must use the double potting insulation technique. Take your standard, thin plastic nursery pot where your plant is actively growing and physically drop it inside a slightly larger, significantly heavier decorative pot, like a thick terracotta planter, a heavy ceramic glazed pot, or even a much larger plastic bucket. This simple action immediately creates a 1-inch gap of pure, empty air completely between the two pots. Scientifically, ambient air is a terrible conductor of heat. That tiny gap of empty air physically acts as an invincible biological thermos, completely and entirely blocking the intense solar radiation from transferring through the outer wall to the inner pot. Your internal soil temperature will instantly and miraculously drop by up to 15 degrees, completely saving your vulnerable roots and entirely eliminating the devastating effects of summer heat shock. The ultimate secret to a highly thriving, massively productive midsummer garden isn't about constantly fighting the punishing July weather. It's simply about choosing crops that are genetically wired and biologically designed to turn that intense, blazing heat into pure, usable energy. When you stop forcefully pushing fragile, cool weather plants into brutal conditions they absolutely hate, container gardening instantly stops being a frustrating, daily battle and becomes a massive, incredibly rewarding harvest. Start with just one of these highly resilient July warriors on your patio this weekend, and actively watch how incredibly fast they claim the summer sun. If this documentary deep dive helped you better understand your summer garden, make sure to hit that subscribe button and leave a like.
I want to hear from you. Let me know in the comments below which of these heat-loving plants you are going to put in a pot this weekend. But don't go anywhere just yet, because our Container Orchard Masterclass is far from over. Right now, let's dive into the next 15 vegetables from everyday kitchen trash. Let's get started. Coming in at number 15, we have green onions. If you are a complete beginner looking for an instant confidence boost, this is the absolute easiest plant to grow from kitchen scraps. It yields incredibly fast results, usually within just a few days, making it the perfect gateway into kitchen gardening. For the container, you don't need anything massive. A small pot with excellent drainage holes at the bottom will do perfectly. Fill it up with a standard all-purpose potting mix. To get started, when you're cooking, simply snip off and save the bottom 1 to 2 inches of the white root ends. Instead of throwing them away, stand these little root ends up in a shallow dish of water for a few days. Once you see fresh, bright green shoots emerging from the top, it's time to transfer them into your potting soil. Just bury the white part, leaving the new green growth exposed. Place your pot on a sunny south-facing windowsill and keep the soil consistently moist but not soggy. Harvesting is a breeze. Just take a pair of scissors and snip the green tops whenever you need them. The plant will simply keep pushing out new growth from the base. In the kitchen, these are the ultimate garnish. Toss them over loaded baked potatoes, fold them into your morning scrambled eggs, or use them to top off your favorite American Chinese takeout dishes. Now, how does this work so fast? According to a fascinating piece by NPR, National Public Radio, the secret lies in the plant's meristem cells located right at the basal root zone. These are essentially undifferentiated plant stem cells. When exposed to moisture, they rapidly multiply and regenerate the entire upper foliage in just 3 to 5 days. And here's a quick fun fact for you. Depending on where you live in the US, you might call these green onions, scallions, or even spring onions, but they are all the exact same incredible regenerating plant. At number 14, we have celery. This is a fantastic way to recycle that tough, rigid base that you would normally just toss right into the compost bin after prepping a large salad or soup. You'll want to prepare a pot that is at least 8 inches wide, filled with a rich, moisture-retaining organic potting soil. To begin the propagation process, take that leftover celery base, about 2 inches thick, and place it in a shallow bowl of warm water. Make sure the top isn't submerged. Keep this in a well-lit area and change the water out every single day to prevent bacterial rot. After about a week, you'll witness something magical. Tiny roots will shoot from the bottom, and delicate leafy stalks will push up straight from the center. At this point, transplant the whole base into your prepared pot, covering everything except the new leafy growth. Celery is a thirsty plant, so keep that soil heavily watered and provide it with bright, indirect sunlight in a cooler spot in your home. When it's time to harvest, simply cut the outer stalks as they reach your desired height, allowing the inner stalks to continue growing. Culinary-wise, celery is indispensable. It's the crunchy foundation of a classic mirepoix, the star crunch in your Thanksgiving stuffing, and the perfect vehicle for that nostalgic childhood snack, ants on a log, celery smeared with peanut butter and topped with raisins. Scientifically speaking, how does a decapitated plant grow back? The University of California Agriculture and Natural Resources, UCANR, explains that the celery's basal plate contains highly specialized growth tissues. It mobilizes the residual carbohydrates stored in that thick, fleshy stump to trigger rapid root and shoot development, completely bypassing the seed stage. Fun fact, in the Victorian era here in the US, celery was considered a massive luxury status symbol. Wealthy families even displayed it in the center of their dining tables in custom-made, expensive crystal celery vases. Coming in at number 13, we are looking at carrot tops. Now, to manage expectations right away, planting a carrot top will not grow you a brand new orange taproot. However, it will grow incredibly lush, fern-like green foliage that is absolutely gorgeous and entirely edible. You only need a very shallow pot for this, paired with a well-draining soil mix. When you're chopping carrots for dinner, save the top 1 inch of the root. Place it cut side down in a shallow dish of water. You only want the water to touch the bottom rim of the carrot, not submerge it. Within days, delicate white roots will reach down and vibrant green shoots will stretch up. Once it's established, nestle it gently into the soil. Carrot tops prefer bright, gentle, indirect light and soil that feels damp to the touch. When you want to harvest, just trim the green, feathery leaves exactly like you would harvest fresh parsley. In the kitchen, these greens are a hidden gem. You can blitz them into a vibrant, earthy chimichurri sauce to serve over a sizzling steak, or blend them with pine nuts and parmesan for a unique, zero-waste carrot top pesto. If you're wondering if these greens are actually good for you, the science says a resounding yes. A comprehensive study published in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry confirmed that carrot leaves are not only entirely safe to consume, but they actually pack up to 6 times more vitamin C than the orange root itself, along with a massive dose of dietary potassium. Fun fact, for decades, there was a widespread urban myth in America that carrot tops were highly poisonous. This likely stemmed from their visual resemblance to poison hemlock, but rest assured, carrot tops are completely safe and belong to the same edible botanical family as parsley. At number 12 is romaine lettuce, manes. This is an absolute miracle of indoor container gardening and a brilliant way to save money if you are a daily salad eater. Grab a medium-depth container and fill it with a loose, nitrogen-rich potting soil. The process begins just like our celery. Take the dense 2-inch bottom core of a romaine heart that you'd normally throw away and stand it up in an inch of water. In about 1 to 2 weeks, you will see a beautiful rosette of brand new tender lettuce leaves unfurling straight out of the center core. At this stage, transplant the core into your soil. Romaine prefers a cooler environment. You definitely want to keep it out of harsh, direct afternoon sunlight, which can actually cause the plant to panic, bolt, and turn the leaves incredibly bitter. To harvest, use the cut and come again method. Just snap off the larger, outer leaves and leave the core intact to keep producing. Culinary-wise, romaine is the undisputed crunchy king of the traditional Caesar salad, and it provides the ultimate structural crunch for thick deli sandwiches and backyard smash burgers. Here is where the indoor growing science gets really cool. According to space farming research conducted by NASA, romaine lettuce is highly responsive to specific light spectrums, particularly red and blue light. By placing your lettuce near a bright window where it catches these specific wavelengths, you maximize its photosynthetic efficiency, forcing those leaves to regenerate at an astonishing rate. Fun fact, while iceberg lettuce used to rule the American dinner table, romaine is now officially the most consumed lettuce in the United States, prized for its superior crunch and higher nutritional profile. Number 11 is mint. Let me give you a serious warning right up front. Mint is an aggressive, rapidly spreading survivor. You must plant it in its very own isolated container, or it will completely overrun and choke out every other plant in your garden. To get started, you don't need seeds. Just take a fresh sprig of mint left over from a grocery store clamshell pack. Strip off the bottom 2 inches of leaves and drop that bare stem right into a glass of room temperature water. Within just a few days, you'll see thick white roots shooting out from the stem. Once those roots are an inch or 2 long, plant it into a wide pot with moisture-retaining soil. Mint is incredibly forgiving with light, but it loves a frequent watering schedule. The trick to keeping mint looking beautiful is harvesting. Pinch off the top sets of leaves regularly. This forces the plant to branch outwards, creating a thick, bushy aesthetic. In the kitchen, mint is a powerhouse. It is the non-negotiable essential ingredient for a classic Kentucky Derby mint julep, and it is the perfect refreshing addition to a pitcher of ice-cold southern sweet tea on a hot summer afternoon. The reason mint is so unstoppable comes down to its biology. The renowned gardening publication, The Spruce, details how mint utilizes an aggressive system of adventitious roots. These are specialized roots that can suddenly emerge directly from the callus tissue of the stem nodes the moment they detect water, allowing the plant to clone itself vegetatively at lightning speed. And here's a wild fun fact. The United States is actually the undisputed global powerhouse of mint production. We produce over 70% of the world's commercial peppermint and spearmint supply. And with that, we're making our way into the top 10 of this list. Were you impressed by any of the vegetables we just covered? Let me know down in the comments below. Before we continue, please hit that like button and subscribe to support my channel. Thank you guys, and let's get back to it. Breaking into the top 10, we have basil. This herb is the absolute soul of summer cooking, and just like mint, it is incredibly easy to clone from a simple grocery store cutting. You'll want a container with fantastic drainage filled with a loose, well-aerated potting mix. Take a healthy 4-inch sprig of fresh basil, remove the lower leaves, and let it sit in a glass of water on a warm windowsill. Once a robust root system has formed, carefully transfer it to your pot. Now, basil is a sun worshiper. It demands a minimum of 6 to 8 hours of direct sunlight every day, and it absolutely despises the cold. Temperatures below 50 degrees Fahrenheit will cause the leaves to blacken and wither. When harvesting, always snip the stem just above a pair of leaves. This technique encourages the plant to grow 2 new branches in its place, giving you a massive and fantastic bushy yield. For culinary uses, nothing beats tearing fresh basil over a blistering hot margarita pizza, grinding it into a vibrant garlicky homemade pesto, or using it to elevate a comforting bowl of warm tomato soup served with a grilled cheese sandwich. But basil isn't just delicious, it's chemically armed. Data from the National Institutes of Health, NIH, highlights that the volatile essential oils stored in basil leaves contain extraordinarily high concentrations of a compound called eugenol. This powerful bioactive chemical acts as a natural fungicide against soil-borne diseases and is highly effective at naturally repelling pest insects like mosquitoes and aphids. Fun fact for all the gardeners out there, tomatoes and basil are considered the ultimate companion plants. Growing them in pots next to each other actually improves their mutual growth, and perfectly enough, they are the ultimate flavor companions on the dinner plate too. Coming in at number 9, we have the bell pepper. Instead of scraping those clusters of tiny white seeds right into the trash when you're making dinner, you can actually use them to grow a beautiful, fruit-bearing plant right on your balcony. Peppers have deep root systems, so you will need a container that is at least 10 to 12 inches deep. Fill it with a high-quality, nutrient-dense soil, heavily amended with organic compost. Take the seeds from a mature store-bought pepper, spread them out on a paper towel, and let them dry out for a day or two. Then, sow them very shallowly, just under a thin layer of soil. Peppers demand a warm climate, so the soil needs to stay above 70 degrees for optimal growth. When watering, always water at the base of the plant, keeping the leaves completely dry to prevent fungal blights. Once your peppers reach your desired size and color, simply snip the tough stem with a pair of scissors to harvest. In American kitchens, bell peppers are the sizzling sweet star of Tex-Mex fajitas, the classic vessel for savory stuffed peppers, and an absolute requirement for a massive, cheesy Philly cheesesteak sandwich. The nutritional transformation of this plant is astounding. According to the USDA Food Data Central database, as a bell pepper stays on the vine and ripens from green to fully red, its vitamin C content increases by 1.5 times, and its beta-carotene levels skyrocket by an incredible 11 times. And that brings us to our fun fact. A green, yellow, orange, and red bell pepper are very often the exact same fruit, just harvested at different stages of the ripening process. At number 8 is the undisputed king of American backyard gardens, the tomato. And yes, you can absolutely grow them in pots, especially the prolific cherry tomato varieties. You're going to need a large container for this. Aim for a 5-gallon pot or larger, filled with a premium loose potting mix. Because tomatoes get heavy, you must insert a wooden stake or a wire cage right at the beginning to support the vines. To plant, take a single 1/4-inch slice of a very ripe tomato that is loaded with seeds. Lay the slice flat onto your potting soil, cover it lightly with an inch of dirt, and keep it moist. Tomatoes need full blazing sun, at least 8 hours a day. They are also heavy feeders, so you'll need a calcium-rich fertilizer to prevent a heartbreaking condition known as blossom end rot, where the bottom of the fruit turns black. Harvest them gently when the fruit has fully changed color and gives just a slight yield when you squeeze it. Culinary-wise, tomatoes are legendary. Layer thick slices into the ultimate summer BLT sandwich, dice them up for a fresh, zesty salsa, or serve them on burgers at your 4th of July BBQ. The science of planting a raw slice of tomato is actually brilliant. According to agricultural guidelines from Cornell University, the slippery, jelly-like sac surrounding a fresh tomato seed contains abscisic acid, a naturally occurring chemical that actively inhibits germination inside the fruit. By burying the tomato slice in soil, you trigger microbial fermentation. The soil microbes eat away that jelly coating, destroying the acid and allowing the seed to finally wake up and sprout. Fun fact, botanically, tomatoes are fruits, but in 1893, the U.S. Supreme Court, in the case of Nix versus Hedden, legally classified them as a vegetable solely for the purpose of trade tariffs. Number 7 is garlic. We've all been there. You open your pantry and realize your garlic cloves have sprouted little green tails. Do not throw them away. You can plant them to grow a fresh, pungent harvest. You'll need a container that is quite wide and at least 6 inches deep, filled with a sandy, extremely well-draining soil mix. Separate the head of garlic into individual cloves, but leave the papery skin perfectly intact. Plant each clove about 2 inches deep into the soil, making absolutely sure the pointy green sprout is facing upwards. Garlic thrives in full sunlight. When it comes to water, be conservative. Overwatering will cause the bulb to rot in the dirt. During the growing phase, you can snip off the curly green tops, known as garlic scapes, to eat. But if you want a large bulb, wait until the main leafy stalk turns brown and dies back completely before digging it up. Garlic is the aromatic backbone of American cooking. Use your harvest to make incredibly buttery garlic bread, roast whole bulbs to spread like savory jam, or use it as the foundational flavor for almost any hearty stew. If you want big bulbs, you need to understand the science of vernalization. The legendary agricultural publication, The Old Farmer's Almanac, explains that garlic cloves must experience a prolonged period of cold temperatures, usually below 40 degrees Fahrenheit, for several weeks after planting. This chill dynamically alters the cellular division at the base of the clove, signaling the plant to split and form a large, multi-clove bulb. Without this cold snap, it will only grow a single, onion-like green stalk. Fun fact, the town of Gilroy, California, proudly holds the title of the garlic capital of the world, hosting a massive annual festival where you can even eat garlic-flavored ice cream. At number 6, we have the sweet potato. This is an incredibly fun, multi-purpose plant. You can grow it to harvest new potatoes, you can eat the nutritious leaves, or you can just let the gorgeous vines cascade down your bookshelf as a free houseplant. If you want to grow full-sized potatoes, you need space. Use a massive pot or a fabric grow bag filled with a light, sandy soil mixture. To propagate, take a sweet potato and use toothpicks to suspend it halfway into a jar of water. Within weeks, leafy sprouts called slips will grow from the eyes. Carefully twist these slips off, place them in a glass of water until roots form, and then plant them deep into your soil. Sweet potatoes are tropical at heart, so they adore the blistering heat of the American summer. You will need patience, though. It takes about 100 to 120 days for the underground tubers to mature. You'll know it's harvest time when the vibrant green vines start turning yellow and dying back. In the kitchen, these are the star of the show. Turn them into the iconic Thanksgiving sweet potato casserole topped with toasted marshmallows, or bake up some crispy, salty sweet potato fries. The science of how a single potato can make an entire garden is incredible. Agricultural extension data from North Carolina State University, NC State, details how sweet potatoes utilize a process called apical dominance. Because a sweet potato is technically a root, not a stem tuber, those little slips contain the complete genetic blueprint of the mother plant. This allows just one grocery store sweet potato to endlessly clone itself, producing upwards of 50 independent, genetically identical baby plants. Fun fact, the brilliant American agricultural scientist George Washington Carver famously researched and invented over 100 different commercial products derived entirely from the sweet potato. Were you impressed by the veggies we just covered? Have you tried growing any of them yourself? Which one is your favorite from the list so far? Let me know down in the comments. Now, let's dive into the top 5 of our list. Make sure to keep watching until the very end, because the fascinating facts about our final plant will definitely surprise you. Let's keep going. We've reached number 5, the classic onion. Growing onions at home ensures you always have the foundational flavor block of Western cuisine right at your fingertips. You will need a container that is both deep and wide, packed with loose, organic, rich soil that drains exceptionally well. Next time you chop an onion, save the bottom 1-inch root base. Set it aside on the counter for a few hours so the cut surface can dry out and form a callus. This prevents it from rotting in the dirt. Then, simply press it root side down into your pot and cover it with a very thin layer of soil. Onions need full, blinding sunlight and consistent moisture. One crucial care tip: onion roots are incredibly shallow and weak, so you must aggressively pull out any weeds in your pot, or they will quickly steal all the nutrients. You'll know your onions are ready to pull when the tall green stalks naturally flop over and begin to turn brown. Culinary applications are endless. Caramelize them down for a rich, deeply savory bowl of French onion soup, batter and fry them into crispy onion rings at a classic diner, or use them as the ultimate sharp topping for a loaded hot dog. But getting an onion to form a large bulb isn't just about soil, it's about the sun. Experts at the Texas A&M AgriLife Extension explain that onions are entirely governed by photoperiodism. This means bulb formation is triggered strictly by the number of daylight hours they receive. If you live in the southern U.S., you must plant short-day varieties that trigger bulbing at 10 to 12 hours of sunlight. Otherwise, you'll only ever grow green leaves. Fun fact: ever wonder why onions make you cry? Cutting into the cells releases a volatile gas called syn-propanethyl S-oxide, which reacts with the moisture in your eyes to form a mild sulfuric acid. At number 4 is ginger. If you have an apartment that doesn't get a ton of direct sunlight, ginger is your best friend. It naturally thrives in the dappled shade of the jungle canopy, making it an incredible indoor plant, even if you live in the freezing winters of the Midwest. Ginger grows horizontally, not vertically, so you need a very wide, shallow pot. Fill it with a rich, loamy potting mix, heavily amended with compost. Buy a plump piece of ginger from the grocery store that has visible little bumps. These are the eyes, or growth buds. Soak it in warm water overnight to remove any growth retardants, then bury it just underneath the soil surface with the eyes pointing straight up. Keep the soil lightly moist and place the pot in a warm, humid room with indirect light. Harvesting is incredibly sustainable. Just gently brush the dirt away from the edge of the pot, snap off a piece of the fresh root for your recipe, and cover it back up so the plant can keep growing. In the kitchen, ginger brings the heat. Use it to bake traditional holiday gingerbread cookies, brew a spicy batch of homemade ginger ale, or grate it into a sizzling Asian-inspired stir-fry. Botanically, ginger is fascinating. The Royal Botanic Gardens, Kew, classifies ginger as a rhizome, a continuously growing horizontal underground stem. Those little eyes contain total apical meristem tissue. When triggered by warmth and humidity, they act as botanical command centers, simultaneously shooting defensive foliage up toward the light while driving absorbent anchor roots down into the soil. Fun fact: even if you don't eat it, ginger makes a stunning houseplant. The green shoots grow tall and hollow, looking remarkably like elegant tropical bamboo. Coming in at number 3 is cilantro, perhaps the most intensely debated herb in all of American cuisine, yet an absolute necessity for summer cooking. Cilantro grows a very long central taproot, so you must use a pot that is at least 8 inches deep. The soil needs to be highly aerated to drain water instantly. To grow cilantro, you actually head to the spice aisle and buy whole dried coriander seeds. Place the seeds on a cutting board and press down gently with a heavy pan until you hear a crack. Splitting the tough outer husk dramatically speeds up germination. Plant them a 1/4 inch deep. Cilantro absolutely despises the heat. It prefers the cool breeze of spring or fall. If the soil gets too hot, the plant panics and undergoes a process called bolting. It shoots up a tall flower stalk, and the leaves instantly turn terribly bitter. Harvest the lacy outer leaves when the plant is about 6 inches tall. Cilantro is the undisputed champion of Taco Tuesday, the essential bright note in a bowl of fresh guacamole, and the perfect garnish for spicy Tex-Mex nachos. Now, let's talk about the science behind why people hate it. A landmark genetic study published in the scientific journal Nature pinpointed a specific variation in a cluster of olfactory receptor genes known as OR6A2. This genetic quirk, present in about 4 to 14% of the US population, makes those individuals highly sensitive to the aldehyde chemicals present in cilantro leaves, causing their brain to interpret the flavor as a mouthful of dish soap. Fun fact, in the US, we use two completely different names for this one plant. The leafy green part is strictly called cilantro from the Spanish, while the dried seeds are referred to as coriander. At number 2, we have the lemon. By planting a simple seed from your kitchen, you can literally grow an indoor citrus tree that brings the sun-drenched vibes of the Florida coast directly into your living room. You will eventually need a very large, heavy ceramic or terracotta pot to counterbalance the weight of the tree. Use a specialized citrus soil mix that has a slightly acidic pH. Take a seed straight from a fresh, juicy lemon. Do not let it dry out. Wash off the slippery sugar coating, plant it a ½ inch deep into damp soil, and tightly stretch a piece of plastic wrap over the top of the pot. This traps the heat and creates a mini greenhouse effect until the seed sprouts. Citrus trees are greedy for light. They demand a south-facing window with maximum sun exposure. Allow the top 2 inches of soil to dry out completely between waterings to prevent root rot. It will take years, but eventually you can harvest when the fruit turns a vibrant solid yellow and perfumes the whole room. In the kitchen, nothing beats ice-cold homemade lemonade or squeezing fresh citrus over a plate of grilled seafood. The science of planting a citrus seed is essentially a genetic lottery, but you have an ace up your sleeve. The University of Florida Institute of Food and Agricultural Sciences, UF/IFAS, notes that many citrus seeds are uniquely polyembryonic. This means a single seed can shoot up multiple sprouts at once. Even more amazing, one of those sprouts is usually a vegetative, identical genetic clone of the mother tree, guaranteeing that your fruit will taste exactly like the lemon you bought at the store. Fun fact, the popular Meyer lemon, heavily favored by indoor gardeners in the US, isn't actually a true lemon at all. It is a naturally occurring hybrid cross between a traditional lemon and a sweet mandarin orange. And finally, coming in at the number 1 spot, the pineapple. This is the ultimate test of gardening patience, but the payoff is an incredible, dramatic centerpiece that infuses your home with massive Hawaiian tropical energy. Because this plant grows into a sprawling, spiky rosette, you will need a massive, heavy 5-gallon container. Pineapples need extreme drainage, so mix your potting soil with a heavy dose of coarse sand. To plant it, firmly grasp the spiky green crown of a store-bought pineapple and twist it right off the fruit. Peel away the bottom few layers of leaves to expose the bare stalk. You'll actually see tiny brown root nubs waiting there. Let it dry on the counter for 2 days to prevent rotting. Then plunge that bare stalk into your sandy soil. Pineapples crave intense heat and blinding sunlight. Interestingly, you can water and feed this plant by pouring liquid fertilizer straight into the center funnel of the leaves, as the plant naturally absorbs nutrients through its foliage. The catch? It takes an agonizing 2 to 3 years for the plant to push up a stalk and grow a single fruit. You harvest when the spiky skin turns golden orange and the room smells intensely sweet. Culinary-wise, it's a tropical dream. Blend up a creamy pina colada, throw thick rings on a hot BBQ grill alongside your ribs, or use it to top a Hawaiian pizza, the pizza topping that sparks endless debate. Scientifically, the pineapple is an evolutionary marvel. According to the Botanical Society of America, pineapples utilize a highly specialized survival mechanism known as KM photosynthesis, crassulacean acid metabolism. Because they evolved in punishing arid environments, they keep their leaf pores completely locked shut during the scorching hot day to prevent water loss. They only breathe and absorb carbon dioxide in the cool, dark dead of night, making them one of the most drought-resistant plants you can possibly grow in a pot. Fun fact, Waiting 3 years for a piece of fruit requires incredible dedication. But once you harvest that pineapple, the mother plant will produce tiny side shoots called pups that you can replant to start the multi-year cycle all over again. It is the ultimate badge of honor for the patient home gardener. And that wraps up our list of 15 vegetables from everyday kitchen trash. By saving these discarded roots and seeds, you're significantly cutting down on your grocery bills and building a highly productive garden absolutely free. Try planting one of these this weekend. Let me know how it goes in the comments, and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more practical gardening tips. But don't go anywhere just yet, because our container orchard masterclass is far from over. Right now, let's dive into the next 15 euphoric edible plants you can grow in containers. Let's get started. Kicking off our list at number 15 is the Meyer lemon tree. While you might think of citrus strictly as a culinary ingredient, the Meyer lemon is an incredible biological catalyst for relaxation waiting to be harvested. To grow this highly productive citrus tree in your backyard, you must select a heavy 15-gallon plastic container. Plastic is far superior here because it retains the consistent moisture that citrus roots desperately demand. Fill the pot with a premium, slightly acidic citrus potting mix, heavily amended with perlite for rapid drainage. Do not waste years trying to grow this from a seed. You must purchase a grafted nursery tree. Place the pot in the absolute sunniest location on your patio, requiring at least 8 hours of blazing direct sunlight. Watering requires strict discipline. You must heavily drench the soil until water pours from the drainage holes, and then refuse to water it again until the top 3 inches of dirt are completely bone dry. Feed it every 2 months with a high nitrogen, iron-rich citrus fertilizer. The harvest time occurs during late autumn, offering a massive yield of bright yellow, sweet-scented lemons. But the dopamine magic does not just come from eating them. You must zest the peel and crush the fresh leaves into your morning tea. According to a landmark neuropharmacological study conducted by the University of Shizuoka in Japan, inhaling the specific limonene compounds found in this citrus physically alters human brainwaves, naturally soothing the nervous system and effectively dismantling morning brain fog and stress. However, a critical warning for backyard growers: this tree is highly sensitive to freezing temperatures. If you live below USDA Zone 8, you must physically drag this heavy pot indoors before the first winter frost, or the cold will kill it overnight. Here is a fascinating fact. The Meyer lemon is not actually a true lemon at all. It is a brilliant, accidental biological hybrid between a traditional citron and a sweet mandarin pomelo cross, originally discovered entirely by chance in China in 1908. At number 14, we have the rose-scented geranium, scientifically known as Pelargonium graveolens. This is not the standard visual geranium you see in window boxes. This is a deeply aromatic, edible medicinal herb that actively sedates the human stress response. Because it originates from the arid regions of South Africa, you must grow it in a 5-gallon unglazed terracotta pot to ensure the root system remains highly oxygenated. Fill the pot with a very poor, sandy, cactus-like soil mixture. You must propagate this from a live cutting rather than seed. Place the container in an area of your backyard that receives full morning sun but is protected from the scorching afternoon heat. Watering should be sparse. Allow the soil to dry out almost completely before giving it a moderate soak. Absolutely never apply heavy fertilizers, as highly nutritious soil will cause the plant to produce massive green leaves but completely destroy the concentration of its euphoric essential oils. The harvest time is continuous throughout the entire summer. You simply pinch off the deeply lobed, velvety leaves and the tiny edible pink flowers whenever you need them. In the kitchen, steep the fresh foliage in boiling water to create a sweet, intensely floral tea, or use the leaves to flavor premium baked goods. A rigorous clinical evaluation published in the Journal of Phytotherapy Research explicitly demonstrated that the aromatic compounds in this specific geranium interact directly with the autonomic nervous system, instantly lowering adrenaline production and inducing a state of calm, alert relaxation without causing the sluggish drowsiness associated with synthetic sedatives. Critical medical warning: While the leaves are edible for humans, the essential oils in this plant are highly toxic to dogs and cats, so you must keep this pot elevated and out of reach of your backyard pets. Here is a fascinating fact. During the 18th century, the intense, sweet oil of this exact plant was heavily utilized by fraudulent European perfume merchants to physically counterfeit the astronomically expensive otto of rose oil, completely fooling the royal courts for decades. Coming in at number 13 is pineapple sage, formerly known as Salvia elegans. This towering, brilliantly colored herbaceous perennial is an absolute powerhouse for mood elevation. It produces a massive, bushy canopy of bright green leaves that emit an intoxicating, mouth-watering aroma of freshly sliced pineapples, eventually erupting into brilliant, blood-red tubular flowers. Because it is an aggressive grower, you must utilize a large 10-gallon heavy-duty fabric grow bag to prevent the roots from becoming completely bound. Fill the bag with a rich, loamy potting soil that is heavily amended with compost to retain deep moisture. Place the container in full backyard sunlight. Unlike other sage varieties that prefer bone-dry conditions, pineapple sage is a relentless drinker. You must water the container deeply and consistently, ensuring the soil never completely dries out during the peak of summer, or the delicate leaves will instantly scorch and wither. Feed it monthly with a balanced liquid organic fertilizer to fuel its explosive vertical growth. The harvest time begins in mid-summer for the foliage and late autumn for the stunning red flowers. You simply snip the young leaves and edible blossoms directly from the stems. In your kitchen, muddle the fresh leaves into iced teas or fruit salads to experience its incredibly sweet tropical flavor. But the real magic is neurological. A comprehensive pharmacological study published in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology confirms that Salvia elegans possesses potent antidepressant-like biological effects. Its unique biochemical compounds actively lower blood pressure and trigger a mild, sustained release of mood-elevating neurotransmitters, making it a legendary staple in traditional Mexican medicine used to soothe nervous tension and provide profound emotional support during times of grief. Here is a fascinating fact. The spectacular, vivid red tubular flowers of the pineapple sage are biologically engineered specifically for native hummingbirds. The flower's extreme length perfectly matches their beaks, ensuring this specific plant acts as an irresistible, high-energy biological magnet that will draw endless hummingbirds directly to your backyard patio. At number 12 is the vanilla orchid, scientifically recognized as Vanilla planifolia. Growing this highly exotic, vining orchid in a backyard container is an absolute masterclass in gardening, but the neurological reward is unparalleled. Because it is a tropical climbing vine, a standard pot is useless. You must use a heavy 5-gallon clay pot and securely install a towering, damp moss pole directly into the center for the aerial roots to physically grip and climb. The soil must be a highly specialized, rapidly draining orchid bark mixture blended with sphagnum moss. Standard potting dirt will rot the roots instantly. Place the container on a deeply shaded patio that perfectly mimics a humid jungle canopy, completely out of direct sunlight. You must mist the moss pole heavily every single day to maintain high ambient humidity, while watering the actual pot only when the bark feels slightly dry. Fertilize weekly with a specialized orchid spray every 2 weeks. The harvest time requires agonizing patience, taking several years and requiring the vine to grow up to 20 or 30 feet long before it is mature enough to produce its pale green flowers. The pods must remain on the vine for 9 grueling months before harvesting. Once cured, you scrape out the tiny black, highly fragrant seeds. The scent is a biological superpower. A landmark neurological study conducted by the Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center proved that inhaling pure vanillin instantly and significantly reduces the human startle reflex and massive claustrophobic anxiety in patients undergoing MRI scans, inducing a profound sense of safety, comfort, and deep emotional nostalgia. Critical warning: the sap inside the thick green vines contains calcium oxalate crystals. If you snap a vine and the raw sap touches your skin, it will cause severe, painful contact dermatitis. Here is a fascinating fact. Because the specific species of Melipona bee required to naturally pollinate this orchid, is native exclusively to the neotropics of the Americas, nearly every single commercial vanilla pod grown anywhere else on the entire planet must be meticulously pollinated entirely by hand using a tiny wooden toothpick, making it one of the most labor-intensive crops on Earth. Breaking into the list at number 11 is ashwagandha, formerly known as Withania somnifera. If you want to experience dopamine, you must first destroy the cortisol that is blocking it, and this ancient medicinal shrub is the ultimate biological weapon against chronic stress. Because you are cultivating a deep, thick taproot, you must use a deep 10-gallon plastic pot to ensure maximum downward growth. Fill the container with a poor, sandy, incredibly well-draining soil mix that mimics the arid climates of India. The seeds require warmth to germinate, so surface sow them exactly a quarter-inch deep only after the summer heat has fully arrived. Place the container in the most intensely hot, blazing microclimate your backyard possesses. Ashwagandha thrives on absolute neglect. You must let the container dry out completely between waterings and absolutely avoid all high nitrogen fertilizers, which will cause excessive leaf growth at the direct expense of the medicinal root. The harvest time arrives in the late autumn, roughly 5 months after planting. Once the green berries turn bright red and the foliage begins to die back, dump the entire container onto your patio and harvest the thick, pale roots. Scrub them clean, dry them entirely, and grind them into a fine powder. In the kitchen, vigorously mix this powder into warm milk with honey to consume before bed. A monumental double-blind clinical trial published in the Indian Journal of Psychological Medicine definitively proved that high-concentration root extracts of ashwagandha statistically lower serum cortisol levels in the human body by a staggering 28%, physically shutting down the adrenal fatigue cycle and allowing your natural dopamine receptors to finally function normally. Critical medical warning. Ashwagandha belongs to the nightshade family and aggressively stimulates the immune and thyroid systems. Individuals suffering from autoimmune diseases, rheumatoid arthritis, or hyperthyroidism must completely avoid this plant, as it will cause severe medical flare-ups. Here is a fascinating fact. The literal translation of the Sanskrit word ashwagandha means the smell of the horse, referencing both the highly pungent, earthy odor of the freshly dug root and the ancient belief that consuming it endows a human being with the raw, untamed physical strength and sexual vitality of a wild stallion. At number 10, we have the Schisandra berry, scientifically classified as Schisandra chinensis. This spectacular, cold, hardy, woody vine produces clusters of brilliant red berries that act as a profound, caffeine-free central nervous system stimulant. Because it is a vigorous climbing vine with an extensive root network, you must use a massive 15-gallon heavy-duty fabric grow bag. You absolutely must install a rigid, towering metal trellis directly into the soil to support the heavy vining branches. Fill the bag with a highly acidic, rich, loamy soil, heavily amended with peat moss and pine bark. Schisandra despises the brutal heat of the deep south. It thrives perfectly on patios in cooler, northern climates and requires a chilling winter period to set fruit. Place the container in an area that receives dappled, partial shade, protecting it from the harsh afternoon sun. The soil must be kept relentlessly moist at all times, never allowing the fabric bag to completely dry out. Feed it twice a season with an organic, acid-loving fertilizer intended for rhododendrons. The harvest time arrives in late summer when the hanging clusters of berries turn a deep, vibrant crimson. You must harvest the berries carefully by hand. In your kitchen, dry the berries in the sun and steep them in boiling water to create a highly restorative, ruby red tea. A comprehensive pharmacological review conducted by the Swedish Herbal Institute confirmed that Schisandra acts as a premier adaptogen. It physically stimulates the central nervous system, drastically improving mental clarity, physical endurance, and elevated mood without triggering the erratic heart rate, anxiety spikes, or devastating energy crashes caused by heavy caffeine consumption. Critical warning. Because Schisandra aggressively alters how the liver metabolizes chemicals, it can dangerously amplify the effects of standard pharmaceutical medications processed by the liver. Consult a physician before consuming. Here is a fascinating fact. In traditional Chinese medicine, this plant is famously revered as Wu Wei Zi, which translates directly to the five-flavor berry. It is one of the only biological substances on Earth that remarkably contains all five distinct taste profiles simultaneously: sweet, salty, bitter, pungent, and sour, creating an absolutely mind-bending culinary experience the moment you bite into a raw berry. Number 9 brings us Ginkgo biloba. Growing an ancient towering tree on a patio might sound impossible, but cultivating a ginkgo tree in a container allows you to harvest one of the most famous brain-boosting foliages in existence. Because ginkgo trees grow exceptionally slowly, a heavy 10-gallon unglazed ceramic or thick plastic pot is perfect to insulate its deep taproot against severe winter freezing. Fill the container with a standard, well-draining potting soil heavily amended with coarse sand. To save yourself literally a decade of waiting, you must purchase a grafted 2-year-old sapling from a reputable nursery rather than planting a seed. Place the heavy container in full blazing backyard sunlight. Watering is incredibly simple. Soak the pot deeply until water pours out the bottom, then leave it completely alone until the top 2 inches of soil are dry. Apply a slow-release organic granular fertilizer just once every spring. The harvest time occurs during the late summer to early autumn, precisely before the stunning fan-shaped leaves turn brilliant yellow and fall off. Pluck the green leaves directly from the branches, dry them thoroughly, and steep them into a light, earthy tea. The neurological mechanics of this plant are legendary. Pharmacological studies have verified that Ginkgo biloba extract contains potent terpenoids that physically act as mild vasodilators, smoothly delivering a steady supply of highly oxygenated blood directly into the brain, supporting mental sharpness, focus, and elevated mood. Critical medical warning. Because Ginkgo biloba is a natural blood thinner, combining this tea with pharmaceutical anticoagulants, aspirin, or taking it before any surgical procedure can cause severe, uncontrollable internal hemorrhaging. Here is a fascinating fact. Ginkgo biloba is biologically classified as a living fossil. It is the sole surviving species of a botanical order that thrived over 270 million years ago, meaning this exact tree survived the catastrophic asteroid impact that completely wiped out the dinosaurs. Coming in at number 8 is Rhodiola rosea, famously known as the golden root. This incredibly tough, low-growing succulent is a botanical superhero that acts as a natural biochemical vault, physically preventing your brain from destroying its own happiness. Because it naturally thrives in the freezing, harsh crevices of Arctic mountains, growing it on a backyard patio requires specific adaptations. Use a wide, shallow 5-gallon clay pot, which allows moisture to evaporate rapidly. You must fill it with an incredibly poor, rocky, barren cactus mix blended heavily with crushed gravel. Rhodiola despises humidity and heat. It requires a location that receives cool morning sun but is entirely shaded during hot summer afternoons. The seeds require intense cold stratification, so planting a dormant root crown purchased from a nursery is highly recommended. Watering must be severely restricted. Treat it exactly like a desert succulent and only water when the entire pot feels completely weightless. Absolutely never apply fertilizer. Rich soil will rot the crown instantly. The harvest time tests your patience. You must wait a grueling 3 to 4 years for the subterranean root system to reach full medicinal maturity. In late autumn, unearth the plant, harvest the thick rhizomes, and dry them. In the kitchen, decoct the roots in boiling water to create a floral, slightly bitter tea. A highly detailed biochemical study published in the journal Phytomedicine proved that Rhodiola rosea contains active compounds like rosavin that function as natural monoamine oxidase inhibitors, MAOIs. This means the plant physically mildly blocks the specific brain enzymes responsible for breaking down dopamine and serotonin, effectively trapping the euphoria in your nervous system for extended periods. Critical medical warning. Because rhodiola is such a potent botanical adaptogen, consuming this tea late in the afternoon can overstimulate your nervous system and trigger deep, frustrating insomnia and profound physical restlessness. Here is a fascinating fact. During the brutal conquests of the Middle Ages, Fierce Viking warriors famously consumed raw rhodiola roots daily before going into bloody battles, relying entirely on its legendary ability to grant them explosive physical endurance and absolute psychological fearlessness. At number 7 is clary sage, scientifically classified as Salvia sclarea. This striking biennial plant produces towering spikes of lilac and pink flowers, and it is universally revered by herbalists as the ultimate botanical. It's euphoriant for women. Because it grows a massive, wide basal rosette of thick, hairy leaves, you must use a spacious 7-gallon fabric grow bag to provide optimal airflow and prevent devastating fungal diseases on the foliage. Fill the bag with a highly aerated, sandy potting mix. The seeds are large and reliable. Press them gently into the damp soil surface in early spring. Place the container in full, unrelenting backyard sunlight. Clary sage is incredibly resilient and drought-tolerant. You must water the container deeply, but only when the leaves begin to show the very first signs of visual wilting. Apply a light organic phosphorus fertilizer at the beginning of its second year to fuel its massive flower spike production. The harvest time arrives in the midsummer of its second year, exactly when the towering floral spikes are in full, magnificent bloom and coated in sticky, aromatic resin. Using sharp shears, harvest the flowering tops and the upper leaves. In your kitchen, steep the freshly dried flowers in hot water to create a highly aromatic, slightly musky tea. A clinical trial published in the Journal of Alternative and Complementary Medicine demonstrated that the primary volatile compound in clary sage, linalool acetate, actively interacts with the dopamine pathways, physically reducing cortisol levels by 36% and inducing a powerful, intoxicating wave of mild euphoria, deep physical relaxation, and intense relief from severe menstrual cramps. Critical medical warning. While the tea itself is quite gentle, the highly concentrated essential oil extracted from clary sage acts as a heavy sedative. You must absolutely never consume or inhale heavy doses of the essential oil alongside alcohol, as the dangerous synergistic effect can cause severe central nervous system depression. Here is a fascinating fact. During the Middle Ages, the viscous, sticky mucilage extracted from the seeds of this plant was highly prized by doctors to safely clear debris and physical blockages from the human eye, earning it the legendary historical moniker Clear Eye, which eventually evolved into the name clary. Number 6 brings us maca, formerly known as Lepidium myini. This ancient, ground-hugging root vegetable is essentially a biological nuclear reactor, providing a massive, caffeine-free explosion of mood-elevating energy. Because maca develops a bulbous, turnip-like taproot, you must use a deep, heavy-duty 7-gallon fabric grow bag to ensure the soil remains loose and uncompacted. Fill the bag with a very light, sandy, well-draining soil mix, completely free of heavy clay or rocks. Maca originates from the freezing, high-altitude Andes Mountains. It utterly despises the brutal heat of summer. You must sow the seeds a 1/4 inch deep in the very early spring or late autumn, completely avoiding the midsummer heat waves. Place the container in an area of your patio that receives full sun during the cooler months. Watering must be consistent but light. Keep the soil damp, but never allow water to pool at the bottom of the bag, which will rot the developing root. Because it grows in barren, rocky soils in the wild, fertilizer is entirely unnecessary and often detrimental to root formation. The harvest time is remarkably fast for a root crop, taking roughly 90 to 100 days. Once the green foliage turns yellow and dies back, gently pull the entire plant from the soil, revealing the dense, round hypocotyls. After drying the roots completely in the sun, grind them into a fine, highly nutritious powder. In the kitchen, aggressively blend this malty, butterscotch-flavored powder into your morning smoothies. A comprehensive pharmacological review published in Evidence-Based Complementary and Alternative Medicine revealed that maca contains unique biological lipid compounds called macamides that physically interact with the human endocannabinoid system, directly boosting dopamine transmission to severely combat clinical depression and massive chronic fatigue. Critical medical warning. Maca is a potent cruciferous vegetable containing high levels of goitrogens. Consuming it raw in massive quantities can severely disrupt human thyroid function, so it must always be gelatinized or cooked before heavy consumption. Here is a fascinating fact. In its native habitat in Peru, maca grows exclusively at elevations above 13,000 feet, making it the absolute highest altitude food crop cultivated by human beings anywhere on the entire planet. Breaking into the top 5 is Damiana, scientifically known as Turnera diffusa. This small, highly aromatic woody shrub with bright yellow flowers is a legendary botanical treasure that delivers a swift, warm wave of intoxicating euphoria and intense social relaxation. Because it originates from the scorching, arid deserts of Mexico, a 5-gallon unglazed terracotta pot is the absolute perfect container, allowing the root zone to dry out incredibly fast. You must fill the pot with a barren, rocky cactus and succulent mix heavily amended with coarse horticultural sand. Heavy, wet potting soil will suffocate and kill the plant in days. Growing from seed is notoriously difficult with abysmal germination rates, so acquiring a rooted cutting from an herbal nursery is mandatory. Place the pot in the absolute most blistering, sun-drenched corner of your backyard patio. Watering requires extreme restraint. You must treat it exactly like a desert cactus, watering it only when the soil feels completely and utterly bone dry. Absolutely zero fertilizer is required. The harvest time arrives in late summer, exactly when the plant is in full, radiant bloom. Using sharp shears, aggressively prune the small, serrated leaves and the yellow flowers, drying them thoroughly in the sun. In the kitchen, steep the dried foliage in boiling water to produce a highly pungent, spicy, fig-like tea. A rigorous biochemical analysis published in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology confirms that Damiana contains powerful neuroactive flavonoids, specifically apigenin, which actively bind to GABA and dopamine receptors in the brain, rapidly dissolving extreme social anxiety, inducing a mild, legal euphoria, and significantly enhancing libido. Critical medical warning. Damiana acts as a powerful hypoglycemic agent. Diabetics currently taking insulin must avoid this tea, as it can cause blood sugar levels to crash dangerously low. Furthermore, its legal status as a botanical euphoriant means it is strictly regulated and banned from cultivation in the state of Louisiana. Here is a fascinating fact. Long before the arrival of the Spanish conquistadors, the ancient Mayan civilization heavily utilized Damiana not just as a medicine, but specifically brewed it into a potent, intoxicating aphrodisiac beverage reserved exclusively for extreme religious ceremonies and royal mating rituals. At number 4 is the highly mystical blue lotus, scientifically recognized as Nymphaea caerulea. We are completely breaking the rules of container gardening here, because this aquatic plant is a direct biological key to unlocking the human dopamine system. You are not using a pot with drainage holes. You must purchase a massive, completely sealed 15-gallon heavy plastic or ceramic water tub for your patio. To plant it, fill a smaller secondary plastic basket with heavy, dense aquatic clay or heavy garden loam. Do not use standard potting soil, as it will simply float away and rot. Bury the rhizome horizontally in the clay, submerge the entire basket into the massive tub of water, and place it in absolutely blazing, unrelenting sunlight. You do not water this plant. You merely top off the evaporated water in the tub every few days. To fuel its massive, floating lily pads and stunning blossoms, you must press specialized aquatic fertilizer tablets deep into the mud once a month. The harvest time is a deeply rewarding daily ritual during the midsummer. The breathtaking sky blue flowers open exclusively in the morning and physically close by the late afternoon. You must harvest the fully open flowers, dry them completely, and steep the brilliant blue petals in hot water to create a profoundly relaxing, sweet, floral tea. The neurological impact of this flower is staggering. A detailed forensic and pharmacological study published in the Journal of Psychoactive Drugs definitively proved that the blue lotus contains apomorphine, a highly potent, non-selective dopamine agonist. This means the chemical physically bypasses normal neural pathways and directly stimulates the dopamine receptors in your brain, inducing a warm, dreamlike state of gentle physical euphoria, deep relaxation, and intensely vivid lucid dreams. Critical medical warning. Due to its powerful narcotic and muscle-relaxing properties, you must absolutely never operate a vehicle or heavy machinery after consuming Blue Lotus tea, and it is strictly forbidden for pregnant women. Here is a fascinating fact. The Blue Lotus was considered so sacred by the ancient Egyptian pharaohs that they physically depicted the flower in nearly every single royal tomb and temple carving, using the narcotic wine infused with these petals as their primary vehicle to communicate directly with the gods. Taking the number 3 spot is Canna, formerly known as Scelidium tortuosum. This incredibly bizarre, ground-hugging succulent from South Africa is the ultimate biological hacker, acting as a massive organic surge protector for your brain's serotonin and dopamine levels. Because it is an arid succulent with a very shallow root system, a wide, low 3-gallon terracotta bowl is the perfect patio container. You must fill it with an extremely porous, rapidly draining succulent mix completely choked with pumice and coarse sand. Sowing the dust-like seeds requires simply pressing them onto the soil surface, but purchasing a live plant guarantees success. Place the shallow bowl in an area that receives bright, indirect sunlight. Scorching afternoon heat will violently burn the fleshy leaves. Watering this plant requires extreme caution. During its active growing season in the cooler months, water it sparingly. However, during the blistering heat of summer, Canna goes completely dormant, and you must absolutely stop watering it entirely, or the entire plant will turn into a rotting pile of mush within 48 hours. Never fertilize it. The harvest time occurs during the summer dormancy period. You must harvest the thick, fleshy leaves and completely crush them, allowing them to ferment in a sealed glass jar for a week before drying them in the sun to activate the alkaloids. In the kitchen, steep the fermented plant matter into a bitter, earthy tea. The clinical science is absolutely explosive. Research published in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology confirms that Canna contains the powerful alkaloid mesembrine, which functions in the human brain exactly like a pharmaceutical SSRI, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, naturally supporting serotonin retention in the brain's receptors to effectively lift your mood and dramatically ease the heavy burden of social anxiety, replacing it with an overwhelming wave of confident euphoria. Critical medical warning. This is a matter of life and death. If you are currently taking prescription pharmaceutical SSRI antidepressants, consuming Canna will trigger fatal serotonin syndrome, a massive, lethal overload of serotonin that causes seizures, hyperthermia, and death. Here is a fascinating fact. For centuries, the indigenous Khoikhoi hunter-gatherers of South Africa heavily chewed the fermented leaves of this exact plant before undertaking terrifying, life-threatening hunts for massive predators, relying on its chemical power to completely eliminate physical hunger and all psychological fear. The runner-up at number 2 is the majestic cacao tree, scientifically named Theobroma cacao. While humanity consumes millions of tons of processed chocolate, growing your own cacao tree in a massive patio container gives you exclusive access to the raw, unadulterated bliss molecule. Because this is a tropical understory tree, you must use a gigantic 15-gallon heavy plastic pot with excellent drainage. Fill it with an incredibly rich, loamy, slightly acidic potting soil, heavily amended with peat moss and thick compost. You cannot grow this from a dried commercial bean. You must purchase a live, grafted sapling from a tropical nursery. Place the massive container in a deeply shaded, humid corner of your patio, completely protected from high winds and direct, scorching sunlight. Watering is a delicate balance. The soil must remain consistently, deeply damp, but never waterlogged. You must mist the massive, broad leaves daily to mimic the extreme humidity of the Amazon rainforest. Feed it monthly with a high nitrogen organic liquid fertilizer. The harvest time is a grueling test of patience, requiring 3 to 4 years for the tree to mature. Because your patio entirely lacks the specific tropical midges required to naturally pollinate this plant, you must meticulously hand-pollinate the tiny blossoms yourself before it will ever produce its massive, football-shaped, colorful pods directly on the trunk. Harvest the heavy pods using a sharp machete, split them open, and extract the raw, white, slimy seeds. After fermenting and roasting the seeds, you can grind them into the most potent, bitter, hot chocolate of your life. A groundbreaking neurochemical study published in the journal Neurobiology of Learning and Memory revealed that raw, unprocessed cacao is the only known plant on planet Earth to contain a significant concentration of anandamide. Named after the Sanskrit word for divine joy, anandamide physically binds to the exact same cannabinoid receptors in the human brain as THC, promoting a warm, gentle, and sustained euphoric runner's high of elevated happiness and pleasure. Critical medical warning. While raw cacao brings immense joy to humans, it contains massive levels of theobromine, an alkaloid that is violently toxic and highly lethal to dogs and cats. Keep the raw beans securely locked away from pets. Here's a fascinating fact. Before the Spanish conquest, the raw beans of the cacao tree were considered so incredibly valuable and divine by the Aztec Empire that they were heavily utilized as actual physical currency. You could literally purchase a healthy slave or a wild turkey for precisely 100 cacao beans. Taking the absolute crown at number 1 is Mucuna pruriens, widely feared and revered as the velvet bean. We are no longer talking about stimulating your brain. This towering, highly aggressive climbing vine is a pure, potent botanical pipeline that delivers the direct chemical precursor of dopamine straight into your central nervous system. Because its growth rate is violent and unstoppable, you must use a massive 15-gallon heavy-duty fabric grow bag and anchor a towering, heavy-duty iron trellis directly to a wall for the vine to conquer. Fill the bag with a rich, well-draining loamy potting mix. The seeds are massive. Soak them in warm water for 24 hours and bury them 1 inch deep in late spring. Place the container in absolute, blazing, full backyard sun. Watering must be relentless. You must soak the container heavily every single day to support the massive canopy of green leaves and stunning purple flowers. Because it fixes its own nitrogen, a light application of phosphorus is the only fertilizer required. The harvest time arrives in late autumn when the vine produces heavy clusters of thick seed pods. But this is where the extreme danger begins. Critical physical warning. The pods are entirely covered in microscopic, needle-like hairs containing the severe chemical irritant mucunine. If you touch the pod with your bare skin, it will trigger an agonizing, violently painful itching sensation that can last for hours. You absolutely must wear thick leather gloves and long sleeves to harvest the pods. Once extracted, the massive beans inside must be dried, roasted, and ground into a fine powder. However, you must absolutely not simply mix raw powder into hot water to drink. While L-DOPA can cross the blood-brain barrier, consuming raw powder causes the vast majority of the L-DOPA to prematurely convert into dopamine right in your bloodstream before it ever reaches your brain, which triggers severe nausea, vomiting, and sudden blood pressure drops instead of euphoria. Traditional Ayurvedic medicine requires precise, prolonged decocting, and modern pharmaceutical companies literally extract it by the ton to manufacture prescription medications used worldwide to treat Parkinson's disease, pairing it with specific enzyme inhibitors to ensure it safely reaches the brain. Critical medical warning. Attempting to self-medicate with this plant can trigger massive dopamine toxicity, causing severe hallucinations and schizophrenic-like psychosis. You must never mix this with pharmaceutical antidepressants. Here is a fascinating fact. Because the L-DOPA in this wild bean is so incredibly pure and highly concentrated, it remains one of the most remarkable and medically significant botanical discoveries in human history. And that wraps up the 15 euphoric plants on our dopamine garden list today. Which one of these botanical biohacks impressed you the most? Did I miss your absolute favorite mood-boosting container plant? What medicinal herbs or backyard remedies do you want me to cover next? Let me know down in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more, and I will see you in the next video. Happy growing!